Don't we do the Pledge of Allegiance up front before we call the meeting to order? That's not on here.
Convene the meeting, Pledge of Allegiance, and then the roll call.
Nice. You're right.
Right, you start on the second page. You don't do it.
I hear you. Well, I have a lot of this.
You're a copious note taker.
129. All right, shall we call this meeting to order?
Yes.
Let's convene the Indian Wells City Council meeting for January 15th at 1:30 p.m. Shall we please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Count of three. 1, 2, 3.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, shall we do a roll call?
Councilmember Whitman?
Here.
Councilmember Reed?
Present.
Councilmember Sanders?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Penna?
Present.
Mayor Taylor?
Here. Shall we is there a motion to, or is there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. In today's agenda, there are a few changes. There is a request to remove 2 items from the submitted agenda. Consent calendar item G5, analysis of the True Access Loyalty Program, which will be brought back at a future meeting. In addition, we have general business item I3, consideration of 2 separate sponsorship requests that is also being pulled. In addition, there is 1 correction for consent item G3, City Council member annual event attendance. The attachment has been revised to include the Children's Museum. As you all know, Councilmember Whitman is a non-voting member, and that assignment was approved at the July 2025 meeting. And that concludes our changes for today.
Thank you very much.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a motion to approve? Yes. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay. So, before we get going here today,
Mayor Taylor, I
Yes.
apologize. I meant I2, not I3 today. I2. Thank you.
Okay. So the addition is to I2. Okay. No, thank you.
Right.
All right, before we begin today, I just wanted to make a few comments. One is thanks for coming and participating in City Council. It's great to see an active community. I also want to kind of clear up some messaging that's been going around in our community. The resident golf benefit that Indian Wells residents enjoy is not being eliminated. Just as a personal note, my wife and I moved here 5 years ago, in part because of the benefits provided by the resident card, and we enjoy them. And we think it's a key part of being a member or resident of the city. Last Friday, I attended the annual Realtors Association of Coachella Valley, and I sat at a table with 7 past presidents. And they were extremely effusive in their public comments about Indian Wells being the best run city in the Coachella Valley that has the highest median rate or value of homes in the Coachella Valley, and that the resident card benefit is extremely important. So I smiled and applauded, and I'm sharing that all with you today because I just want to make sure you're all aware of our awareness of the importance of the benefits we receive from the resident card. So rest assured, there's nothing on this agenda that actually talks about the elimination of any such thing. I do think it's good governance, however, for the city council to review policies and programs from time to time. And last spring, the city council asked the city manager and staff to prepare a comprehensive report on the resident card benefits offered to the community, just as it also asked the city to review all ongoing contracts with third-party vendors, et cetera, et cetera. This is a part of, in my opinion, good governance and why you elect us and why we continue to ensure that the city is one of the best-run cities in the state of California. As we proceed through this agenda, we'll tackle some of these issues, but I just wanted to state that up front so that we have clarity as we begin to proceed. Does anybody else have any
I
comments
do.
here?
Before we proceed, if you may, can we move I-4 first on general business, please?
Well, I think we
out
have
of
some-
respect out of everybody that's here.
I think what I'd love to do, let's move it maybe after the presentations from the Riverside
Right.
County Fire Department,
Right,
et
as far
cetera.
as general business, can we?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is everybody okay with that?
Fine.
Okay? Yeah. Okay, then? Great. All right, so let's dive in. We go to item C, Riverside County Fire Department, quarterly update by Fire Department Captain Charles Esseling. Come on down.
Yeah, the price is right.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, council, citizens. Happy to be here. Just filling in for Chief Beverly. He's out in Sacramento, so he couldn't be here. He sends his best, of course, though. So this will be your quarterly update for the city of Indian Wells for the Cal Fire Riverside County Fire Department. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so this will be the breakdown of our call volume from October 1st to December 31st, and then we'll talk a little bit about our previous years and then any significant incidents that the city has had. So as you can see, total calls, we've had 207 medical-based calls, 50 false alarm calls, and then 26 traffic collision calls in that time frame. There's been some other calls and some public service assist and standby, but total incident from that time frame is 317 calls of service just in the city limits. I'm happy to report that our average incident response time is right around 4 minutes, which is below the accepted national standards, so we're providing excellent service. Okay, here's a map of the city, and you can kind of see geographically where all the calls are at throughout the city in our primary locations and our hotspots. Okay, so from 2024 to 2025, as you can tell, there's been a slight reduction in calls. We went from 376 calls down to 317 calls. But if you look at the numbers, they're pretty much comparison. I know one of the council members asked previously, what was the total number of calls for falls in the city of Indian Wells? And the rough number for that is 268. If you want an exact, I can get back to you and get you an exact. But roughly within the city limits, 268 medical calls for falls throughout the year of 2025.
And that's out of the 317?
Correct. Okay, and then we're happy to report in the city for the last quarter, there's been 0 significant major incidents, so that's good. Okay, and that'll be the end of my report for you guys.
That's quick.
Short and sweet.
Does anybody have any questions?
It's not a question, Mr. Mayor, but this is important information. It went very, very quickly. Can we put these things on the website so that, for at least a period of time anyway, so that the residents can have an opportunity to review it and see it? Because it was very well done, but it went very quickly, and I think people would like to be able to digest it.
Certainly.
And the same also presumably with the sheriff's department, but we'll wait and hear what they say before I decide.
Yeah, let me add to that, that the response time, which is excellent, ought to be a part of that, so that people know that we're below the standard in terms of time to respond, which is very good.
You know, the other thing that's worth noting at this time, it's not a change to anything, but I was over at the La Quinta State of the City, and they highlighted the fact that their residents now get a free ride to the hospital in an ambulance when they call 911. And I thought to myself, don't we already have that? And the answer is yes. So I want to remind you that the city of Indian Wells also provides that benefit to its residents. That in the event you call 911 and an ambulance comes to your home and you go to the hospital, yes, they're going to deduct first your insurance deduction, but the remainder of the balance, should there be any, will be covered by the city of Indian Wells. It's an extraordinary benefit we enjoy, and one that will continue. All right, let's do a Riverside County Sheriff Department quarterly update by Lieutenant Frank Schiavone.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, staff, members of the community, residents. Today I'll be presenting the Q2 stats of October, November, and December of 2025. During that time period, there was 3,338 file numbers, 799 calls for service, 2,539 were self-initiated. They had a total of 42 arrests, 10 DUIs, 2 for public intoxication, and 11 arrest warrants. And there was 1,702 area checks conducted. For the traffic collisions, we didn't have any fatalities. There were 3 major injury collisions with 7 minor injuries and 40 non-injury. During this 3-month period, they wrote 651 traffic citations and arrested 16 DUI drivers within the city. We don't have any homicides. There was 1 rape, 0 robberies, and aggravated assault or batteries were down to 3. The total violent crimes was 3. 6 burglaries, 1 auto theft, and miscellaneous thefts of 5. The total property crimes of 12, and the Part 1 crimes of 15. So this is the portion that is important for the residents to see and City Council to see. The difference between Q2 and Q3 of 24 and 25. As you look at the graph from left to right, down at the bottom, you'll see priority 1, 2, 3, and 4 calls. Sometime, I think in July of 25, we shifted the staffing levels and acquired a motor officer, eliminated a 2nd officer in the evening, and acquired a motor officer to include a motor based on the needs of the community. Some of the residents were concerned about response times or lack of policemen within the city. As you look at the times, the response times, priority 1 are the most important, the dangerous ones, the ones that are in need of immediate attention. And when we had the other staffing level versus the new staffing level, it seems that we're on the downward slide. Our response times are phenomenal, to be quite honest. If you have the ability to look at some of the other cities that are in the surrounding areas, their response times aren't as good as ours. So we're doing a fine job on getting the units to the residents when needed. The priority 4, 35 minutes for somebody to wait around for a non-criminal or what's important to you, but is not at the top of our priority, is we need to work on that. So we're gonna work on getting these guys, but when we have 1 officer during the day and 1 officer at night, somebody else, there's a call pending, some of them have to pen. This is an overview of the same information that I provided, just a different format in the event that Mr. Reed allows me to put it on the website. It may be easier to read.
Good news goes on the website.
Oh, good. Some of the notable cases and operations that we're working in October of 25, there was a grand theft arrest done by the two set team members. One of the cargo containers containing a bunch of clothing from Fila was taken somewhere around the Desert Champions, the BNP Paribas. Cargo theft is huge. We really don't have a problem here in Indian Wells, but as you go more north towards the freeway where the truck stops are at, these cargo trucks come up missing all the time. Prajan was able to gather his information, write multiple search warrants related to cell phone towers, the use of license plate readers, etc. And we ended up finding the guy. He was in Moreno Valley. Of course, he didn't know anything about it. He was just there to pick up the trailer, tractor trailer. In October of 25, a vehicle theft. Vehicle was stolen within the city. We recovered the vehicle immediately based on the license plate readers that we have here in the city that you guys have been so graciously to fund and keep up. Unfortunately, we were unable to get him in custody that day, but we ended up back to the cell phone warrants and GPS warrants, etc., locating him in Cabazon. During this period, they ran the DUI checkpoint. The DUI checkpoint is funded by a grant that we utilize, and we shift from city to city based on the funds. And during that time, 20 people were cited for a variety of, miscellaneous traffic issues, and I think there was three people were arrested for actually DUI, which is a pretty high number in a checkpoint. Typically, the checkpoints are educational. People in the community know that they're there. With today's social media, they've got, before even set up, they know where we're at, and so they just avoid it. So to get 3 out of a checkpoint was pretty good.
Don't drink and drive.
We had a couple burglaries in Toscana Country Club. They did a lot of work, and we're still working on it. So we're still gathering through all the information. And then, as you know, we have BNP coming up here in March, and I'm spending a majority of my time planning that operation. I met with BNP people last week here at the city. I made it very clear that safety is our biggest concern. In today's world, it's a little cuckoo. We got some crazy people out there, so I've increased the personnel. I've increased the amount of SWAT team officers that will be present. I've also increased the amount of bomb guys. Whereas in the past, it was few guys here, none this day, none that day, but I can't take the gamble on behalf of the city and the residents of what day this person is going to come. So I pretty much mandated that they provide these people each and every day. You guys have any questions?
Anybody?
They reimburse you, right, for the expense? That's not a city expense.
No, we provide them with an estimate, and then we bill them that, or they bill us
Right.
directly. Nothing to do with the city.
Thank you, officer.
Thank you for your concentrated effort on making the tennis tournament safe. It's an international event, and you're right, there's a lot of crazy people in the world, and so we're glad that you're on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's nice to see such a large crowd here today, and since we have such a large crowd, not everybody knows Lieutenant Schiavone, and I want to express to everybody how lucky we are to have him. He is very integral with his men, and he cares deeply about the city. He is a no-tolerance lieutenant, and we are so fortunate to have him.
Thank you for the kind words.
Great.
I can
And
also
the-
say that go ahead.
And the data speaks for itself. Thank you so much.
I can also say that there are several private clubs around in our city that have notified their employees and members to drive the speed limit and not California roll through stop signs, thanks to your good efforts. So thank you
I
very
made it
much.
a point to contact all the HOAs, to contact all the individual clubs, to meet with their managers, to let them know that the city is, the speeding and the traffic is the biggest complaint, the biggest issue, and their residents, their guests, their workers, they need to slow down.
Yep.
So Deputy Yu is out there. I just did his evaluation. I signed his outstanding evaluation to include that he wrote 2,400 tickets during this last year.
It's awesome. It's really awesome.
And did he set a record with that number?
He did. He broke a record of that was outstanding for about 8 or 9 years.
320?
It was like 1,900 or something.
There
like
you
that.
go. Okay.
So if you haven't been lucky enough to meet him, he is out there.
Some of the residents may have met him this morning, so.
Don't let him go to Minneapolis. He won't be welcome there.
So since Councilman Penna touched on this morning, today we had a VMET operation, which is a operation that's grant funded, where all our sister cities, from Palm Springs to Indio, all their motor officers converge on individual cities at once for a short period of time. Between Rancho Mirage, Palm Desert, and Indian Wells, I think 660 tickets were written, and I think it was 63 in our city with one tow. So they're out there speeding, so slow down.
Thank you. And now the second most popular subject right now in our city, the International Palm Springs Airport update by Indian Wells appointed Commissioner Phil Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank
Mayor
you.
Pro Tem, council members, fellow citizens, thank you very much. Before I start, I'd like to see if I can do the next Fire County presentation. Short and sweet. That was great. So I talk about a couple of things today. The first thing we'll talk about is updates to the airport, and then we'll talk about the traffic, the noise. You're right. It seems to be a pretty popular discussion right now. We'll talk about that, what's happening, why it's happening, and what we can do to mitigate that. So, and away we go. Palm Springs passengers, we're going to talk about passenger loads. Domestic, overall, we're up about 3.5% for last year. These numbers are about 2 months, I got about another 2 months to go, but up until October, November, we were up about 3.5%. However, for our Canadian neighbors, our August, we're down 27%, September 42%, October 30%. In looking forward, the airport can look forward to bookings. The bookings were way down again in January and February for Canadian friends again. So it doesn't look like that's changing that much, which is pretty sad.
Bookings from Canada.
Bookings from Canada, yes. However, the good news, projected seat totals for 2026 versus a year ago, we're up 5.5%. So at the end of the day, February was up 2%. In essence, what we're missing with our Canadian passengers, we're picking up with domestic. So we're getting more domestic. So at the end of the day, we're hoping that the total number of passengers in 2025 will equal the total number of passengers in 2024. And we're hoping to have a better year next year. So we'll see how it goes, knock on wood. Palm Street, I always like this. We get, every year for the season, we get new routes, which I always find to be interesting. What are the airlines thinking? Where do we want to go? And I always got my friends going, why don't we get routes to the East Coast? Well, Alaska Airlines, interesting choice. Santa Rosa nonstop began in October. You wouldn't think Santa Rosa, it's not a big airport, but apparently there's demand for that there.
49ers.
Delta Airlines, Austin, Texas, November 15th. American Airlines, Charlotte. Well, there's one of our East Coast because American Airlines has a huge hub in Charlotte. So from Charlotte, you can go to Europe essentially or up and down the East Coast if you want. So that's actually a pretty good get. United Airlines, Newark. This is a big one too. We lost the JetBlue route to JFK about 2 years ago, so that fills that void. I'm going to assume that the East Coast ones are probably seasonal. We'll wait to see if that becomes a summer, but it's really difficult with the temperatures to get an airplane to go from here to the East Coast. Performance-wise, we load a lot of performance because of the temperatures, obviously, so we'll see how that goes. And lastly, Southwest Airlines, also Austin, Texas. I don't know what's happening in Austin. Maybe we should all jump on one of these flights and go to Austin, Texas. If two airlines think we should all be going to Austin, Texas. So those are the new routes for this year. I look forward to seeing if any more pop up as the course of the year goes on. Federal Inspection Services. This is a really interesting situation. Palm Springs Airport currently does not have an FIS facility. This means all international flights must clear customs prior to landing at Palm Springs. So that really inhibits the number of international flights we can have. So for instance, all of our international flights currently come from Canada. You clear customs out of Canada. So if you're coming from Vancouver, you clear US Customs in Vancouver. So when you land here at Palm Springs, nothing changes. You get off your plane, you just go on the terminal, pick up your bags and go. This is a little different than maybe coming into some place like JFK or LaGuardia or LAX. When you come international, you get off the plane and then you get escorted to another facility where you pick up your bag and then you clear customs. That's different. Not saying that Palm Springs isn't an international airport. Obviously we are. But this changes things because customs only available for general aviation and business craft only, currently. I think we only have one customs person who can do that at the airport right now. We obviously need more than that. Palm Springs Airport Administration held meetings with Customs this fall. They told them we want to be able to do this, and Customs says, great, continue on, let us know how it goes. So that's encouraging. Why is this important? Like I said before, Palm Springs would open up more international flights, including flights from Mexico, and rumor has it, potentially Europe. That would be great. Imagine nonstop from here to London. That'd be awesome. So we'll keep you updated as that goes along. They would like to have this in place by July of 2028. Why? LA Olympics happen in July of 2028. They're hoping to get some overflow from LA, so that would be encouraging as well too. Renovation and upgrades to the Palm Springs Airport. For those of you with electric vehicles, we've got 80 new slots, so we've got 40 charging stations. This should be completed. If it isn't completed now, it should be completed in the next several weeks. We're almost there. We were waiting for SoCal Edison to come in and basically flip the switch. Bathroom renovations, 5 of them total. The Sunny Bono Concourse men's and women's restroom will be totally renovated. The courtyard restrooms, those are all gender, will be renovated as well as the Agua Caliente holding room. So those will all be redone. And I've seen the designs of them. The designs are not done yet, but it's pretty sweet. It's really clean. It's really nice. I think people really enjoy that. Renovations to begin first quarter of 2026. It's going to take about a year for that to finish up. Sunny Bono, I don't know why I have a hard time saying that. Sunny Bono Concourse escalators. If any of you flew this summer or this fall, there was a good chance if you flew out of that concourse, that escalator was broke. The amount of time it took to get that escalator fixed was ridiculous. It took weeks, if not months, to get that done. So the airport said, let's just go ahead and replace them. They've been out there for 10 years or so. Parts are hard to find. Let's just go ahead and replace them. I think it was a great idea to do. So that will begin in May, and that will work through the summer months when there's not so much traffic there. So you can look forward to that. Note to self, don't let daughter do your PowerPoint presentation for you. Questions, comments, or concerns about that for now? Really? None? Okay.
The good stuff is next.
Yeah, that's what I understand. Increased airplane traffic over Indian Wells. There has been an increase of traffic over Indian Wells, but let's start at the beginning. Let's talk about the airport itself. So this is a diagram of the Palm Springs Airport. This is runway 31 left, 13 right. It's the biggest runway. It's the only runway that the airlines use. And since the prevailing winds at the airport are from the northwest, 31 left is used probably 90% of the time because airplanes want headwinds for takeoff and landings. They get better performance. So keep that in mind. We're talking about runway 31 left. two types of approaches when an airplane, and when I say airplane, let's just consider the airlines, because that's really what we're talking about. We've seen an increase of traffic. It's really about the airlines. So when I say airplanes, let's think about the airlines. The first type is a visual approach, and that's exactly what it is. When a plane is coming into Palm Springs, he sees the airport from 10, 15 miles out. He requests a visual approach from approach control. Approach control grants him that, and then he's free to go to the airport if he likes. It's pretty simple. That's the easiest way to do it, is a visual approach. Here's an example of a visual approach. The airplane in orange up there is the airplane that asked for the visual approach. That's United Flight 1813 out of Washington Dulles, and somewhere over Bermuda Dunes. It asked for a visual approach, was granted a visual approach, and made a beeline basically for the airport. What I want you to note here is the track and where the location of the track is. That's over Rancho Mirage. The blue dot is my house. I live in Indian Wells Country Club. So that tells me that on that visual approach, he was probably 4 or 5 miles to the north of us, which means we probably didn't hear him, we probably didn't see him, which is the way we like it, okay? Questions so far? We're good?
Unless you live in Rancho Mirage, but
Well,
we're not advocating for them today, so.
I'm going to keep quiet about that. The second type, oh, what happened there? Sorry. Let me go back here. The second type is an instrument approach, and this is the approach that we're talking about today. This is the one that is most commonly used for airlines when they come into Palm Springs. This is the instrument approach that is being used. So airplanes coming from the north, from San Francisco, Los Angeles, that area, they would join the approach right there. And then they would fly that approach all the way around to the airport, which is right there. And you can see this is about where we are right here. Airplanes coming from the east would join the approach here and then connect and move it all the way into the airport there. That's what we're looking at. This is a relatively new approach. If I look down here, that was put in probably around June of 2025. I do not know what the previous approach looked like. I don't know. I've asked for it. I've not been able to obtain it. I think the reason I haven't been able to get it is because they don't want me to potentially use it. There would be some liability there. So they destroy those approaches. So this is a relatively new approach, and this is probably about the time when everybody started to notice all the traffic overhead. So remember what this approach looks like. You can see how mountainous it is around the Palm Springs area. So it's kind of tight, but it's a very good approach. This is what the approach looks like being flown coming in from the north. This is SkyWest 3356 coming from San Francisco to Palm Springs. It mirrors exactly that approach that we just saw, exactly. The blue dot again is my house, and you can see where the approach takes it. Planes coming over my house are generally anywhere from 4,000 to 3,500 feet and on a descent into the airport, okay? This is coming from the east. This is United 1294 from Denver. It got on the approach somewhere over Indio. Again, the blue dot's my house. You can see it mirrors exactly the same thing. So this is what's going on. This is why we're starting to see all this traffic. Why is this happening? Is because airline pilots are very conditioned to want to do approaches, instrument approaches. They're used to it. They do it all the time. They do it 99% of the time. A visual approach, while simple to do, isn't always the easiest thing to do. You have to maintain visual all the time. The airport itself is incredibly hard to find even in daylight if you're not used to it. It blends in very well with the city. So you can't do the approach unless you continuously see the airport, and it's very difficult to do. Airline pilots are lazy. We like to just push buttons and let the plane do itself, and we can do that by doing the instrument approach here. So how do we mitigate that? How do we change it? Well, if you go to the airport website, there's a form in there, the noise comment form that you can fill out. And I encourage people who are concerned about this to go online, fill out that comment form and submit it. That's the first step. We have to let the airport know that this is a concern for us. We want some attention put to this. Those comment forms will go to the noise committee. I don't belong to the noise committee, but I do go to their meetings. But I will be briefing the chair of the noise committee this exact same briefing, so he understands what is going on. From there, it's going to go to the airport council commission. From the airport commission, it then goes to the airport administration. The airport administration is the only people right now that can ask the FAA to modify or change its approach. I've tried. They politely told me to go elsewhere. So well, I can't do it, we can't do it. So that's what I encourage people to do. If you're concerned about this, let's get the ball rolling. Go to the airport website. I think the mayor, you're going to put this
Yeah.
out on it. Okay, so it should be easy for everybody to do. And then let's send this form out. Now, there is a noise committee meeting next Wednesday, the 21st at the airport. Anybody can go. So if anybody here wants to go and voice their concerns, feel free to go. It's on the second floor of the main terminal. It's right next to the TSA checkpoint. To the left, you'll see a set of stairs and an elevator. Go to the second floor. It's right there. I will be there, so you can look for me. And then let's see what happens. But this is a big concern. I've heard a lot from Chris, and I've gotten emails from you as well, Mr. Mayor, about this. So it is important to the citizens of Indian Wells, and let's see what we can do about it.
So,
Questions?
yeah, Phil, can you just, for everybody's sake in the room and on council here, just talk about your personal background a little bit?
I was a retired corporate pilot. I flew for 35 years. When I retired, I was a chief pilot for a Fortune 500 company out of Atlanta, Georgia. I missed, my wife is from Southern California, so we decided when I retired to come back to SoCal. So that's my background.
And, you know, when we interview city council, we interview people who volunteer for committee positions. And we're so gifted to have some of the most talented people in this community with great expertise, pilots, CEOs, et cetera.
Yes.
We were really impressed with the number of people who rose their hand to lead this committee, and we're honored to have you represent us in Palm Springs. What I'll say, and the reason why the timeliness of this conversation is that come November, I got the first attack over at IW Coffee saying, hey, Mr. Mayor, have you noticed that the amount of planes flying overhead has dramatically increased? I mean, my wife and I can lie in bed like we're counting sheep and go, 1, 2, 3. And I said, quite frankly, I hadn't, but I'll pay attention.
And
And lo and behold,
there you go.
right? And then not only that, but I've received even more than the increase in the Gulf. I've actually received a lot of emails complaining about the noise level, the number of planes going over it. And sure enough, a friend of mine who owns a plane had his pilot check, and it absolutely agrees with your statement that last June, the FAA changed the flight pattern, so we have more planes flying over Indian Wells. And as it turns out, the FAA usually needs to run some kind of an open discussion and talk about this, but they haven't. And as it turns out, this was a common problem that was occurring in Newport Beach and Orange County in 2016, where the FAA didn't listen, and ultimately the County of Orange and Newport Beach sued the FAA over this particular issue and flight patterns, and the FAA quickly settled by end of 2017 and mitigated by changing the flight patterns back so that
Right.
the flights didn't fly over directly some of the most, populated areas in that community. So, what's exciting is the first step we need to take as a community is fill out that form and send it in. And if we could do it in the next few days, I think that would be extraordinary because it will come right before this noise committee meeting. And so in the next 48 hours, I'll send out a mayor's note with a link to that as well. But this is a big issue, guys, and it's not going anywhere. And you can see by the basis of this becoming an international airport, those planes flying in here in the next couple of years are going to get bigger and bigger and louder. And so I think it's something we should address right now. Anybody have any comment?
My,
I have a question. One of my tennis groups, one of the guys I play with said, who lives in Palm Springs, who probably doesn't know the information that he was giving, thought that it was a seasonal change and that it would be changed back as soon as the season was over. Is that not
No.
true?
No.
No, that's not true.
No.
Okay.
do you have any inclination why they changed the flight pattern?
I haven't seen the previous one before, but generally when the FAA makes a change like this, it's probably because they think this is a better approach. I don't know what the other approach was like. Maybe pilots complained it was too steep, it was too narrow, whatever the case. They felt like this was going to be a better approach. Now, what you have to remember is when the FAA designs and implements an approach, they're not really thinking about us on the ground and where those planes are going to be flying over. It's all about what happens in the air. And from a pilot standpoint, I've never done this approach myself, but looking at it, I would fly this approach all day long. This is a beautiful approach. Unfortunately, it goes over the top of Indian Wells. That's the biggest problem with it. Do I think there's a way that we can amend this approach? I'm not an expert in by any means on designing approaches, but I do think there is a solution for it. Whether they agree with me or not, I don't know at this time. But we have to start somewhere, and I think getting those notes in or those forms in would be
Thank
a
you,
great
Phil.
start. And we're going to
Anybody else have any comment? Okay, thank you very much.
I appreciate
Really
it. Thank you,
appreciate
gentlemen.
it. Great presentation. All right, let's go to C4, Lift to Rise, presentation by Director and Collective Impact, Ian Gabriel, and Associate Director of Policy and Research, Celeste Flores.
Mayor, I did want to acknowledge that we did receive a public comment relating to the last presenter.
Sure.
I did provide it to the council. It was
Yes.
from Deborah Lloyd. She is a resident, and it will be included as part of the agenda record.
Thank you. Please.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and Indian Wells residents. My name is Celeste Flores, and I'm the Associate Director of Policy and Research at Lift to Rise. I'm joined this evening by my colleague Ian Gabriel, our Director of Collective Impact, who will also be sharing part of this presentation. Tonight, we want to briefly cover 3 things. First, who Lift to Rise is and the role we play in supporting affordable housing across the Coachella Valley. Second, to recognize and uplift Indian Wells' leadership and progress in affordable housing. And third, to share why our upcoming regional action planning process is an important opportunity for Indian Wells to continue shaping solutions and unlocking resources for our region.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. So Lift to Rise, we're a nonprofit organization. We're based in Palm Desert, but we serve the whole Coachella Valley. And we are the backbone of a broader coalition of over 70 partners that includes the cities of the Coachella Valley, Riverside County, affordable housing developers, nonprofits and community-based organizations, funders, residents, all organized around a goal to increase the supply of affordable housing. So in 2018, we came together with our partners and set the goal that you see here on the screen, which is focused around reducing the level of rent burden or housing cost burden for Coachella Valley households through the production of 10,000 units of affordable housing over 10 years, which includes multifamily rental, but also single-family homeownership units, all affordable to folks or households earning at or below 80% of area median income. So you might ask, what does Lift to Rise actually do to get this done with our partners? So one of our key roles is to bring together these partners around our goal. We convene our Housing Collaborative Action Network, which sort of represents our larger coalition, every month to work on some of these strategies together. We also track all of the affordable housing development underway across the Coachella Valley. We have it on a map on our website. We source information from the developers, from the local cities, from the county. And then from that tracking, we're able to spot over patterns across these projects as to what's keeping them from progressing from concept to completion. And I will note that when we first started this effort in 2018, there were an average of 38 units of affordable housing per year being produced in the Coachella Valley between 2012 and 2018. So when redevelopment sort of dissolved in 2018. And then at this point now we've identified over 9,700 units across the Coachella Valley, including here in Indian Wells, that are underway in some part of the development process. So we've seen a really large, actually exponential increase due to some of this coordination that we've worked on with the cities and all these other folks. So we also operate a revolving loan fund called the We Lift Coachella Valley Housing Catalyst Fund. It's a fund that deploys low interest flexible loan capital to affordable housing developers with financing gaps. We offer technical assistance, so we work with cities and affordable housing developers to help apply for grants and funding, work out problems with their projects. We also work with a lot of community residents to get them to come out to city council and planning commission meetings in support of affordable housing projects. We do a lot of policy advocacy at the local, state, and federal level to ensure that the Coachella Valley is really getting its fair share of resources, especially from the state, from Sacramento. And then we also do a lot of narrative and communications work to raise our region's profile. One example, folks may have seen a couple months ago, there's a front page article in the LA Times about the Coachella Valley's progress on affordable housing and how our region is sort of serving as a model for the rest of the state on how to actually get affordable housing produced. So next, we also wanted to acknowledge Indian Wells' progress and leadership in this space. We're we wanted to congratulate the city on the recent legal ruling that advances the plans for that plot next to the tennis gardens, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. And we want to commend you for working with Abode Communities, the developer that you've been engaging with on that property. They're a partner of Live to Rise, and they have produced a lot of really top quality affordable housing that really fits in with the neighborhood character in various cities, provides services to residents like childcare and other amenities. And they have a couple of developments in different parts of the valley that are actively underway. And so we just wanted to commend you for working with a really top quality affordable housing developer. And then we also wanted to acknowledge the city staff that has been with us for a long time. So City Manager Chris Freeland, Assistant City Manager Eric Ceja, and Luis Rubalcalva, who is an active participant in our coalition. And in general, we also just really want to acknowledge the city's commitment to incentivizing workforce housing specifically. I know that's a priority of this council and the city. I think it goes without saying, but the tourism and hospitality economy that makes the Coachella Valley a really enticing destination for folks, and really it sets us apart from other parts of the state, wouldn't be possible without the workforce that makes it happen. And providing housing stability for that workforce only will improve that the outcomes there on sort of us being a tourism and hospitality destination. So we really wanted to acknowledge the city's emphasis on workforce housing as well. I'll pass it back to Celeste. Thank you.
Finally, I want to share a bit about our upcoming regional action planning process. Every 3 years, we bring together our coalition members for a strategic planning process to ensure that we get our 10,000 unit 10-year goal. The process starts with collecting and analyzing data on housing and socioeconomic issues, engaging with cities to understand their development challenges, and listening to residents through a series of targeted community listening sessions. Then, on January 28th and 29th, Live to Rise will convene partners from across the valley to develop our 2026-2028 action plan. This process is about taking stock of what we accomplished, identifying remaining barriers to housing production, and developing practical and actionable regional solutions that help cities and developers move projects forward. Given Indian Wells' leadership and experience, your participation and input are especially important. The lessons Indian Wells has learned, the challenges you're navigating, and strategies that have worked here can help shape solutions across the region. We're grateful for the partnership we'll build with Indian Wells and look forward to continuing work together and advance affordable housing that meets the needs of Indian Wells residents and strengthens the entire Coachella Valley. Thank you again for your time, and we wish you a happy afternoon. Sorry, they changed the time. And I just moved from Austin, Texas, so if you need any tips on what to do there, you can also talk to me.
And we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
And my question is how are you doing meeting your goals right now?
So right now the goal is 10,000 units by 2028. We've identified 9,700 units that are in some way, shape, or form in the development process. We've hit the 3,500 mark in terms of completed units. And then there's, I would say, about another 2,500 that are under construction or are fully funded and ready to go. So the gap remains about 3,000, if I'm doing my math correctly, that to actually get us past that 10,000 units completed. But we always anticipated that it would be sort of, we would see more activity on the back end of that 10-year period just because of the amount of time it takes for these projects to get up and running, funded, and then built. So I think we're making pretty good progress. And I think it's important to note that had we not set such an ambitious goal to begin with, we might not be this far. So we've accomplished a lot together.
Anybody else have comments? Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Very nice. So members of the public who wish to speak on consent calendar items or items not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers will be alerted when their time is up and are asked to promptly return to their seats. No further comments will be permitted after the allotted time. Please note that while the City Council values public input, it cannot take action or engage in discussion on items not listed on the agenda. However, the Council may refer matters raised during public comments to staff for review, follow-up as appropriate. City Clerk, do we have any comments?
Yes, we do have 3 public comments. We'll call up Douglas Hansen, followed by Javier Enriquez.
Afternoon, Doug.
Happy New Year, gentlemen. Douglas Hanson, 20-plus year resident, former mayor and council member. I appear before you today not to critique your past year's performance, but I was very happy to know that, Topher, you moved to our city for the resident golf benefit. I thought it was the exclusivity of the Vintage Club. But glad to hear that you're just as embedded in the resident amenity as we are. Well, I'm not going to talk about golf. Actually, I wanted to praise and acknowledge one of your employees. Angelica Avila was in charge of the Christmas program this year, the Christmas tree and the decorations. And of the 20 years that I've lived here, this was by far the best that we've had in the 20 years. And I think we all owe her a great applause for the work she's done. Angelica, keep up the good work. You did a good job. You can only improve next year, okay? Thank you.
A bigger tree. Taller tree.
Second comment?
Okay, we got Javier.
Yes. Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, council members, council and staff, and residents. My name is Javier Enriquez, Senior Public Affairs Specialist for South Coast Air Quality Management District. On behalf of South Coast AQMD, I have the following announcement. South Coast Air Quality Management District offers commercial electric lawn and garden equipment exchange program, which provides up to 85% of new zero-emission battery electric commercial lawn and garden equipment when older gasoline or diesel-powered equipment is exchanged. This program is available to commercial gardeners and landscapers, as well as all local government agencies, school districts, and colleges, and nonprofit organizations operating within Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. The purpose of this program is to improve local air quality and reduce harmful emissions by replacing older, polluting equipment with clean, electric alternatives. Gas and diesel-powered lawn equipment contributes to air pollution and noise in our neighborhoods, and transitioning to electric equipment helps protect public health while creating quieter, cleaner communities. The program operates through a voucher-based system, meaning the incentives apply directly at the point of sale through participating retailers, for which new battery electric piece of equipment, participants exchange one operable gasoline and diesel-powered commercial unit. All equipment must be new, and refurbished or reconditioned equipment is not eligible. Eligible equipment includes trimmers, leaf blowers, chainsaw, walk-behind lawnmowers, and ride-on or stand-on mowers. Incentive amounts can be significant, up to $700 for small handheld equipment, $1,400 for leaf blowers, $1,500 for walk-behind mowers, and up to $15,000 for ride-on or stand-on mowers, depending on the equipment. Getting started is simple. Interested participants can visit a participating retailer, bring in the old gasoline or diesel-powered commercial equipment for exchange, and receive the discount instantly at checkout. For full program details, required documents, and a list of participating retailers, please visit www.aqmd.gov lawn and garden equipment. I will provide this link and information to the clerk as well, and thank you for your time and opportunity to speak.
Question, is this exchange valid for individual residents, or is it also valid for companies or HOAs or whatever?
No, this is for commercial. There's another program for residents as well.
Okay, so what you're referring to here is for, in essence...
For commercial, yes.
Commercial.
Businesses, yes.
Okay.
Later today, we'll present one for the residential.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you for your time.
Miss Jenny Whitman.
Good afternoon, Jenny.
Is Bruce in trouble?
Oh, Mrs. Jenny Whitman.
Okay.
He's not. I'm Jenny Whitman.
Oh, right there,
Mayor.
go on and speak to the microphone, sorry.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Mr. City Manager, I am here on behalf of the Indian Wells Preservation Foundation. And I'm not going to take a lot of time because I know we have a busy agenda, but there's just a couple of things I wanted to mention today. One is a huge thank you again to the council and city staff for all of your support and to our council liaison, Mayor Pro Tem Brian Penna, who's just been an outstanding resource for us. We are growing significantly. We just had our 8th landmark event where we landmarked a beautiful William Cody home over on Cielito Drive. We had over 100 people there. I know many of you came. And William Cody's family came and spoke about growing up in the house, and they were so thrilled and excited to see the energy behind the recognition of their family member. We have another absolutely iconic Indian Wells home in line for landmark number 9, which we can't talk about yet, but we're really excited, and it's going to be fabulous. Tomorrow we have a Mix and Mingle, which is our annual membership drive. And this year it's going to be at the Indian Wells Golf Resort. And a huge shout out to them for Chef Eric and Jenny Poland, who have helped us pull this whole thing together. We originally, so what it is, we invite all of our Preservation Foundation members to come. They come free of charge. We provide some light bites at we're purchasing from the Kestrel restaurant. It's a paid bar, but last year we had 80 people registered to come. And the idea is we ask people to bring their friends who aren't yet members, and we make a big membership pitch. So last year we had 80 people sign up. This year we had 130, and we just had to shut it down because the room isn't big enough. So we are getting a lot of interest, and I'd say we've got a lot of momentum behind us. I hope you all stop by tomorrow, and city staff too. It's really going to be a fun event. And the golf resort people have just been fabulous. So just wanted you to know that things are really exciting. Oh, and Mr. Penna has donated a original Bray. What's his first name?
Carl Bray.
Carl Bray for our auction. We've got some silent auction items. My mind's just not. I knew that. But anyway, we're really excited about this. So thank you all so much. I just want you to know that the money that you're helping us is really being put to good use, and we've got lots of exciting stuff coming up. So thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you for the accolade.
One question. What time tomorrow?
Thank you very much for asking that. It's 4:30 to 6:30, the Indian Wells Golf Resort. But if you're not already registered, I don't think you're going to get in, but we'll let you know about the next event. One of the things the city does is they put out e-blasts to all the Indian Wells residents to let you know about our upcoming events. You could come, however, and just join. If you're a city resident, you get a 20% discount, which means our ordinary $60 membership for a family is $50 for Indian Wells residents with a resident card. We're doing really lots of cool stuff. We have lots of fun. We have a great board. And
Thank you.
Robin, thank you for Robin Groff also.
Does
gives us a
anybody
lot
else
of
have any
support.
questions up here?
Yeah, my only comment would be to make a reservation at Kestrel, so when you're done with the mix and mingle, you can have dinner.
There you
For
go.
sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. All right, I guess we go to city manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. I have 2 quick items. First, Dina Purvis, please stand. This is a surprise to her, but she does know about this, but not standing up. Please all join me in congratulating Dina Purvis, who has been appointed our permanent Public Works Director. The next item, I'm going a little off script, so thank you, Council, for this opportunity. As you know, the city has worked closely with PARS for several years in eliminating our city's unfunded pension liabilities and establishing funding mechanisms to address future liabilities. This, along with other fiscally conservative efforts, have made Indian Wells one of the most financially secured and fiscally responsible communities in all of California. At one point, California State Senator developed a report that ranked all of California cities based upon their fiscal health. Indian Wells was ranked 4th in the last report that he provided. Our finance director, Kevin McCarthy, has touted this report for years. Mitch Barker, who is the executive vice president of PARS, has been our partner for many years in this endeavor. Mitch has finally and unfortunately retired from PARS, but wanted to stop by and thank Indian Wells, but also Kevin, who has become a dear friend. Mitch has a special presentation to make to the city and Kevin.
Can you explain what PARS is, please?
It is the, goodness, I only know it as PARS, Public Administration Retirement System. It's a system that allows cities to invest into the stock market to pay off the pension liabilities of our communities. I let Mitch can actually do a better job of representing his company than I can. So Mitch, why don't you come on and give us a little bit of background?
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's a pleasure to be here. I had a condo in Rancho Mirage for 15 years. It doesn't get any better than out here.
It actually does in Indian Wells, but that's okay.
I stand corrected.
Thank you.
This is a special day, and thank you for the request to appear, Chris. I wouldn't have missed it. Kevin's been a buddy now for 15 years. It all began at CSMFO conference many, many years ago. We got paired on the same golf team on the golf outing, and we became fast friends ever since. So in 2018, Kevin gave me a call and said, come on out, I have an idea, which I jumped at immediately. I came, I sat down, we were having lunch, and he said, I wanted you to know we are 100% funded with CalPERS. We have 100% reserve, so we're in pretty good shape. And I said, oh, you're in a lot better than pretty good shape. You're one of the best financially shaped cities that we see, and there's 480 of them. He says, but I still want to do your program. And I said, what does that mean? He said, well, you have a trust. You can earn more money than we can because of California government code. So I'm going to put money in your trust, and it's going to earn interest over time. And I'm going to use the earnings off the trust to pay for something called normal cost, which is an actuarial term. So even though your UAL, your unfunded liability, is zero, you still have ongoing annual normal cost. And I said, brilliant idea. Nobody's ever suggested that in all the meetings we've had around the state. I said, to me, this is sort of like an endowment fund. Isn't this what universities do? Got this huge endowment, it gets invested to the best of their ability, it throws off interest earnings, and they use that to lower tuition, lower cost, build programs. And he said, that's it. So he was the first to do this, and now several other cities have followed his lead. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate the friendship of Kevin. He's one of the best, we all know that. But now that I'm retired, and you're already a client, and I'm not trying to sell you anything, I can honestly say, in my opinion, with the leadership of Chris and the financial stewardship of Kevin, you're the best in the state out of the 480. But you know, it does get down to numbers a lot of the time. And who better to present the numbers than my partner for the day in this presentation? And that's somebody that predicted the Orange County bankruptcy accurately, was appointed to take over the treasurer tax collector job to fix it, got reelected several times in that job, became Orange County supervisor for many years, and then eventually state senator. He's the one that puts out these reports. He knows what he's talking about. Let me welcome John Morlock.
Honorable City Council, Dana Reed.
You're not getting that tree next year, Dana.
As a representative of the County of Orange, we'd like to recruit Dana Reed back. You have a wonderful council member, you have a wonderful council, you have a wonderful city manager, and we're here today to pick on Kevin McCarthy. Kevin, well, your city has been really ranked high in my rankings. It was something I did as a state senator because California and Sacramento would be flush with cash thanks to Silicon Valley, but all the cities were having a really difficult time. So it was a way to kind of point things out. So Kevin, you did something that was kind of interesting. You put my name and the rankings in your annual comprehensive financial report for 2020. Now I'm here to complain because every time I look at I've looked at every what we call CAFR act for every financial statement. I look at all 483 of them every year, but now I have to look for my name. I have to do a search because Cypress did it too. in Orange County. So thank you. I brought it because I want you to autograph it for me. There are 9 regions in the state that I use based on Caltrans districts. You're in the Inland Empire. I have your rankings up until 22. I'm waiting to finish 23 because the city of Apple Valley is negligent. It hasn't. Well, they're a little late. They're a laggard. They're not as efficient as Indian Wells. In fact, if you go to the website of Indian Wells, it already has its 2025 annual comprehensive financial report on the website. This is the epitome. You guys are premier, top of the pile. You're the best, one of the best. So I just wanted to come down, drove all the way in from Orange County. I'm driving back, but it's good to be to your city. Dana, it is so nice to see you, and I want to thank you personally for our friendship over the years and all of your encouragement and kind words to me during my career. It really meant a lot. And
Well, you weren't indicted, so I might have done the right thing, so.
I also want to thank Mitch Barker for pulling me out of my home for the day. Now that I'm trying to enjoy semi-retirement, I want to thank Chris Freeland for your kind remarks and hard work. And Kevin, thank you for letting me surprise you and embarrass you in front of your residents. So with that, just keep up the great work. Keep being a premier city. It is nice to use good examples, and you're one of them. So thank you very much for letting me just occupy a few minutes of your time. And then, Dana, you can get even with me some other time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. As a footnote, let the record reflect that PARS, which deals with some 480 cities in the state of California, acknowledge that we are one of the most fiscally sound, best-run cities in the state of California, which includes both Chris and Kevin's work. I think it's really important that we all hear this loud and clear and acknowledge their good work in maintaining the integrity of our city. And there's nothing better than a third-party advisor that can do that. So, bravo. Bravo, Kevin. Bravo, Chris. City Attorney, I believe that finishes your report, Mr. Freeland?
It does, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the kindness.
Mr. City Attorney?
Mayor and council and members of the public, the council met today at 12:30 in closed session to discuss the 2 items listed on the agenda. The council heard reports on both items. No action was taken that needs to be reported under the Brown Act. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I believe we've already talked about the consent calendar and any changes to the consent calendar, so I don't believe that any further discussion is warranted.
Move adoption.
I have one
Second.
voted, 1 second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that unanimous vote to accept the consent calendar. So now, let us go to the public hearings. Let's move up as per we talked about previously for the benefit of everybody in the room who's come today. What is it, H or I?
It's I-4.
I-4 to the first subject matter. So comprehensive overview and discussion of resident golf rates at Indian Wells Golf Resort. Who's making this presentation?
Thank you, Mr.
Finance
Mayor.
Director McCarthy. Beautiful.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. For your consideration today is our resident and resident guest rate, golf rate discussion at the golf resort. And as the mayor alluded to earlier, this all started last year during your strategic planning session. You asked us for copious amounts of information that have been provided to you in your staff report. And I'm sorry, I don't know what was happening. I'm sorry. I'll compose myself here. So what we'll be talking today is about resident access, tea time allocation, and certainly the rate structure. And as we get started, all of this starts with our residents' benefit card. So the Golf RBC allows our residents to have discounted golf at the golf resort as well as their guests. And last year, we produced about 2,600 cards. We generated approximately $130,000 in revenue. All of that revenue was deposited into the golf resort fund, which covered offsetting operating costs and maintenance costs as well. This entire golf resort started with the 1985 easement agreement. And in that agreement, with working with our two grantor hotels, it is an actual easement. So the city was able to build our 36-hole championship golf course on land owned by the two grantor hotels. And that's how the golf resort first started in action. Also, the first agreement established the beginning of the framework for the tee time allocation and looked at balancing the interests between hotel guests, our general public, and had some city participation in there. It wasn't until 1993 that we decided to start the first formalized discounted golf benefits. And in that first agreement, it really applied to hotel owners, visiting dignitaries, PGA card holders, and some small city categories. In fact, it wasn't until after this was adopted that we had realized we forgot the residents altogether. So later that year, we came back and we established the first formal resident golf discount policy. And in that, it entitled residents to play at 70% of the posted green fee, with the caveat to not exceed $35 per round rate. So when you hear about the $35 rate, and it's all out in the community, this is the actual policy where it first began. Later in 2020, City Council came back and upped the rate for the season to $50 and left all off-season play at the original $35 rate. Looking at that seasonal rate starts in January and ends in April. So all of our reserve times, residents are paying $50. For those folks, what we call same-day walk-up, those are folks who are not reserving time but just walk to the golf course on the same day. They pay that discounted $35 rate. And then all for the rest of the year, from May to December, all residents pay the $35 rate. Looking at the peak season, this is a rounds capacity analysis that you asked us to do, is in the staff report, but I included it here. It goes from the period of October 1st through May 31st. And when you look at all the golf courses, both golf courses combined, fully operational, you see there we can generate about 70,000 rounds. Of those rounds, there is a protected class. We've talked about that. That starts at 7 a.m. to about 12:50 p.m. and all inclusively about 44,000 rounds can be generated in that period. And you can see from this next slide that all of those protected rounds are allocated. So you've got 1/3 of those times going to the residents. That's about 96 rounds per day. Same with the hotel partners and with the general public. And I'll cover it by saying this is only between the period of 7 a.m. and 12:50 p.m. So after 1 o'clock, all the tee sheet is open and anyone can book anytime after that. Those rounds, even during the season, are not protected. Residents enjoy 14-day booking window in advance, so they can book tee times 14 days in advance. And our next slide is a round usage and equity context. So one of the things the council asked us to do during strategic planning is to say, okay, of all the residents playing, how many play? And this is what is in attachment 2 on your staff report. And so as you can see, I used 23, 24 year, again, because both golf courses were open. It's kind of a plain vanilla year, so to speak. So we had about 1,400 residents play. And of that, they played about 18,500 rounds. And what was interesting about the study, and again, it's in the attachment, is about 160 of those 1,400 folks, 161 of those, it accounts for about 11%, actually ended up playing about 50% of the total rounds. That's a little over 9,200 rounds for the year. The resident guest rate structure is in place. First of all, the most important thing is a resident guest must play with a resident, all 18 holes, please. And it is really based on the average cost of golf for the year. And so it's a very easy calculation. It includes the golf program, all the costs associated with that, that's part of your budget. The golf maintenance program, which again is included in your budget, and you divide that number by the total number of rounds, and you get this averaged cost of golf. And the spirit, I have a seasonal pricing grid that's included in your staff report, and the spirit of it is annualized, that the golf resort will not make any profit. They're basically paying the cost of golf, will not make any profit on any resident guest, and we do dutifully our very best to not lose any money either. And that's the cost recovery method for the guest rate. Finally, you did look at this. I think you've seen this a few times by now. These are the operating results from 2010 through 2026. This is what this is really showing you is in 2022, the city council took a position and they said, the golf resort is a business and it's operated for profit, and the Troon will now have to be profitable, and we'll put skin in the game with that. So the new agreement with Troon is they have a finance, they have a pay performance plan. The better we do, the more they get paid. The worse they are according to the budget, the less they get paid as well. And so here, I'll just give you the summary. Between 2010, 2022, we've had cumulative losses a little over $8 million. And since 2003, since this new requirement's been put in place, we've had a net operating income. So today, the golf resort is operating profitably at about $3.2 million since 2023.
Kevin, before you move forward, can you explain to them how that differs also when you add the subsidy that was previously in place?
Yeah, this is a pre-subsidy. So during that time, in 2023, the city council said to Troon as the operator and globally as the business of the golf resort, that it needs to operate profitably without a golf fee subsidy. So that was removed in 2023. Prior to that, it was about $2 million to $3 million. The last year I think we had it was a little over $3 million in subsidy for that period of time.
And that's general fund subsidy, correct?
That was a general fund subsidy. So it's very easy to see in your financials. Prior to that, we were operating with an operating surplus of about $1.8 to $2 million. And as soon as we got rid of that, that number shot up in the general fund to a $5 million surplus. And that's what you have in your budget today.
And in kind of plain English, because I do get a lot of comments on this, what used to happen, the subsidy he's referring to, is when a resident played at $50, the city would then contribute $100 for that person into the operating budget of the golf club. Is that correct? Roughly? Roughly,
yes. And what the calculation really was to your point, Mr. Mayor, that it is the resident was paying $50, And then per hour, per course, per day, what was the average rate excluding the folks? And that was that spread.
So it could vary, but in essence, that's what got you to the $3 million.
Yeah, that's what.
So
got
now that's gone away.
That's gone
and
away.
The golf course, and it's not just the golf course, it's the golf course, the restaurant, and the golf shop. That's what those numbers are on that sheet, right?
That's correct.
So
That's
it's the
that's
entire
all
business
operations.
that operates profitably without subsidy by the city. However, from time to time, the city makes capital investments, such as redesigning the players' course at a tune of $13 million. That would be an investment that we make. But operationally today, the golf course and the restaurant and the golf shop combined are self-sustaining.
Correct.
There's no additional investment by the city for its operating budget. Do you have any more?
I'll finish up.
Sure.
Yeah,
I would like to add to that, so everybody understands that when a resident plays with a guest or without a guest, Troon is absorbing the difference on that money. So if we're paying $35 as a resident, there's a big disparity there. It's almost $200 and something, almost $300 sometimes, depending on time of year. The city is no longer subsidizing that money. Troon, when they signed a contract in 2023, I don't know, how they do it, but they do it and they do it profitably and they absorb that money. So all the rounds that we're playing as residents and the benefit that we enjoy is paid for by Troon and not anything else but that. Correct?
Well, it's absorbed into their budget.
Well,
That's
it's
correct.
absorbed into their budget.
Right.
But
it's
if
also-
we're focusing on the golf, this is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, so in other words, maybe a different way of saying that
Okay,
is,
maybe a different way.
is that if it were the golf round to be available, they could potentially get $250 to $350 a round, and that just doesn't affect Troon, that affects us too, right? As a city, so because we're partners. So it's just a note to say that there is a $2 to $6 million benefit that we're giving all of us who live in the city of Indian Wells, which is a beautiful thing, but we have to acknowledge the cost. Is there anything else?
I have
Do you have a
I have a question before we get into discussion. You indicated that there are 96 rounds per day in the protected hours. When a resident brings a guest, is that guest part of the 96? Or is that guest not part of the 96?
So to answer your question, when a resident brings a resident guest, it is part of the 1/3 allocation. It is part of the 96 rounds for the resident pool.
So when a resident brings a guest, that guest is using a spot that another resident could have used.
That's correct.
Because it reduces the number of rounds that are available to the residents. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
So I've only got one more slide. It's not even that fun. But so I would just conclude with the council does have options today. Your first is to take no action whatsoever. You can request additional analysis. You can provide us direction on rates and access. And finally, if you can provide us any alternative direction as well with that. So with that, that does conclude my presentation. I'm available for any questions. We have the city manager, the assistant city manager, and executive team from Troon as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
In 1993, I think you indicated on one of your slides, there was a complimentary golf agreement that was made. And that's where the $35 golf and other complimentary golf for Troon members, for hotel guests and so on, for guests of the city staff and so on. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. And maybe this is a legal question for our attorney. One of the things that I read in the staff report that I wasn't aware of previously was that that complimentary golf agreement was made as an amendment to the 1983 agreement that created this easement, this large easement. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Or the 85. 85. So in order to change that, does that have to be, how do you change an easement? Do you have to record the amendment to the easement? Do you have to resolve it through resolution or through legislation? How do you do that? Or how was it done, actually, in this case?
Well, great question, Mayor and Council. In 1985, at the start of the resort, the three parties entered into a robust easement agreement.
Being?
What's that?
The three parties being?
The three parties being the Renaissance Hotel, the Hyatt Hotel, and the city. Well, I think maybe it was the redevelopment agency at the time. I don't remember. But in any event, the three parties entered into this to create the resort. Part of that agreement, as was noted earlier, addressed fees for playing golf. In 1993, the same three parties, decided to revise that part by entering into a new agreement, which we now know in its current iteration as the Complimentary Golf Agreement. As Kevin traced the history of that agreement, it all essentially, that what we now kind of view as a standalone agreement is the result of is the amended part. What began in the easement agreement is now handled by this Complimentary Golf Agreement. It is the amended part. So if that needs to be changed, it's changed by the same three parties amending the Complimentary Golf Agreement. Now, we don't have to amend the earlier easement agreement because it's already been amended and now takes the form of the Complimentary Golf Agreement. That might be a little more history than you needed. I'm sorry, I can tell by the looks on your faces I spoke too much.
What I'm just trying to find out is, and then there was a change in 2020 to the Complimentary Golf Agreement, changing the seasonal to $50.
If I may, that's something I discovered when I started working here for the city in 2019, is that in 2017, by minute order, the council changed the resident rate, or added the resident rate of the $50 rate during the seasonal periods. It had never set in the agreement with the other two parties. And so in 2020, we went back to the other two parties and say, we need
Meaning the hotels.
The hotel partners, thank you. We needed to document this so that way it couldn't be challenged in the future. And so the three parties agreed to it in 2020 to secure that $50 rate.
Okay, and so I guess my question is was that properly amended on the easement agreement and recorded with the registry as any other amendment would be to an easement agreement? Is it recorded? Was it done lawfully and recorded properly?
It was done properly. It was done lawfully. It doesn't. The easement itself addresses property rights. That part of the easement agreement is recorded on the property. The other part of that same agreement that dealt with fees doesn't affect property rights, and the amended part is now the Complimentary Golf Agreement. So, if we address this today, we address it through the Complimentary Golf Agreement. It is part of that
the easement agreement.
Essentially, yes.
And it's properly, so if I went to the recording for the easement agreement, I would find these amendments having been properly recorded.
I don't know
by
that
the
that's
city.
true. No, I don't
That's
know.
my
that,
question.
I don't know that the Complimentary Golf Agreement and the subsequent changes that the council made to golf fees has been recorded against the property, because in 1993, the three parties essentially separated golf fees from the easement. Before they were combined into one agreement, by creating a separate agreement, they pulled the fees out. So,
but according to the staff report, all these changes were amendments to the easement agreement. They weren't pulled out legally. They were amendments to the easement. Okay, so
we're probably just talking past each other here with terminology.
All right. Just want to make sure these were lawfully done.
Yes.
In accordance with law.
Yes.
Okay, are there any more specific comments as it relates to Kevin's presentation?
I just want to pick up on the point that Councilman Reed was making and ask a question. So let's assume that the starter puts together a hybrid kind of foursome. In other words, a resident who has a resident benefit card does not have 3 other golfers who are guests playing with him or her, okay? So that's the assumption. So the starter can put a member of the public, for example, with the resident, correct? Okay.
The answer is yes.
Okay, so the point is that to a large degree, we're even subsidizing guests of residents because that tee time theoretically could be sold for as much as $150 or $350.
Correct.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any very specific questions for staff? Otherwise, we're going to go to public comment. Okay, let's go to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Angelica?
Yes, we do have 9 speakers. So our first one is Arlen Goldberg, followed by Ty Peabody.
Thank you, Arlen. Just remember 3 minutes, please.
Sure. Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for letting me comment. My name is Arlen Goldberg, and I'm a new resident as of June in the Mountain Cove area of Indian Wells. And my comment relates to is a specific perspective of the tee times relating to the rates, about tee times being available to be sold at a higher rate if the residents weren't taking them. So let me give you a practical perspective. 2 weeks in advance, we can make a tee time. If you go in and click exactly on the moment to make the tee time, you'll see that there are not many tee times available, and they're not at the prime times. The prime times are reserved for the non-residents and the resort guests. So you don't get much of an opportunity to get a good tee time. Now, 3 days in advance of the date that you would want to play, the tee times that have not been booked by the non-residents or the golf resort become available to the residents. And that's great. And now you can maybe get a better time or get a time. And the reason that I bring this point up is essentially, from my perspective, what's happening is that the residents and the resident guests are not taking tee times from non-residents and golf resort guests, because those tee times were not taken 3 days in advance when they were released to the residents. So my comment is just for you to take under consideration is that the residents are essentially using tee times that would otherwise have gone unused. That's my point.
Thank you, Arlen. Next,
Ty Peabody.
Mr. Peabody. Good afternoon.
Followed by Patrick Ho.
Thank you.
First of all, my condolences, Greg, to you
Thank
for
you.
your loss.
Appreciate it.
Second of all, Kevin, you deserve all the praise you get, no question about it. I got involved in this because when I saw the agenda, I was really shocked that this was even coming up. For 10 years, I served on this council, and we dealt with this issue. And the one thing we found out during that period of time, the residents didn't want tee times touched, period. And I think probably if you talk to everybody in this room, and I thank everybody for coming today, because I don't even understand, this is your first council meeting, first day as the mayor serving on the agenda, why you would ever want to touch this issue. The residents are the benefit, this benefit is the most important benefit we have in this city. To mess with this benefit, you've come out today and the staff deserves credit. They've done a great job throughout my 10 years and today on controlling the financial issues in this city. We can all disagree on certain issues within that, but the bottom line is this city is a very successful city. I don't know why this ever came up. I don't agree that it's about governance. There's a lot of other things we can do with governance related to issues in this city. This isn't a governance. It isn't an equity issue either. Equity, every resident in this city, whether they play golf or don't play golf, has a right to play golf and make a tee time. If they choose not to do it, that's their prerogative. And I just find this, I just hope you will just put this to bed and deal with much more important issues in this city. Thank you.
Ty?
Will you wait till comments afterwards?
Well, I have a couple of questions of him.
Well, we're not allowed to really quite have.
Yeah, we are. We're not in public comment.
Just brief.
Yes, sir.
Are you talking about the resident benefit for golf generally, or about the rates, or both?
Well, in probably in all issues. I mean, the rate, you're not going to make a lot of money by raising this by $10. You're going to make $120,000. There's a lot more things we can do in this city to generate more revenue and income in this city, including at the golf resort. We did the banquets, we did shots in the night, we did the truck. All of those things were extremely successful. We need to come up with more things like that than to mess around with the residents' rate or tee times. It just isn't necessary.
Okay, got it. Just want to know where you're coming from.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Patrick Ho, followed by Steve Huddleston.
Is it Patrick? Okay. No worries, Patrick. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming.
Hi, I'm not Patrick. Patrick is an attorney and got called out, but I'm Dan LaGuardia, and I did send you a letter, and you were gracious enough to respond immediately, which truly shocked me. But it was great. When we came in here, you said you have no intention of taking away our benefits, but you did not say you don't want to change them. And in your letter to me, you were concerned that some people get all the prime tee times, but anyone can go online at 6 a.m. Is it easy to do? No, because you have to get up, get out of bed, and get on that silly computer and keep tapping it 100 times to see if it will give you something. But anyone can do that. And there's always something available, whether it's your prime time that you want, or maybe it's 30 minutes later. And I don't think the residents get upset with any of you, and thank you all for the jobs that you do. But when it comes to our benefits, of course, you see, we don't get upset when we have solar that doesn't work for 3 years. And we paid him. I don't understand that, why the bond, their performance bond, wasn't attached or anything like that. But I'm just hoping that maybe you guys can look at this and say, we're giving the residents their benefits, and hopefully they can remain the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Steve Huddleston, followed by Glenn Schubert.
Hi guys, Steve Huddleston. I live on Fairway Drive and recently been golfing, starting the sport back up again. There is the addendum to the agenda. There was 12 pages of an addendum, and on there was a round allocation by type. And it would be great, Kevin, I don't know, did you put this together, the round allocation by type? Was that you? It would be great if we could see this now, but if we can't, let me describe it. It's a pie chart, and it shows who's playing, who's booking the tee times. 23% is by tournaments, 5% is by troon, 1% is by a resident guest prime time. And then that leaves us with public and then residents. The public is 37% of the bookings. The residents are totaling 31%. The public can book, I believe, whenever they want to. The residents can only book as far out as 14 days in advance. But what was most striking to me is the differentiation between public non-prime and public prime, the percentages. During prime time, the public is only booking 13% of the time. During non-prime, it's 24% of the prime, 24% of the time, excuse me. Essentially what that's saying is the public's saying they don't want to book and pay for prime time. What that does is that ultimately 3 days in advance leaves the residents with the prime time bookings. 2 examples. I played a celebrity last Saturday. I had booked it 14 days in advance, but my tee time was originally 12:40. 3 days in advance, I took a look. I saw there was a 10 o'clock opening, so I called the golf shop. They slid me from the 12:40 to the 10 o'clock. So I went from non-prime to prime. Today, at about 11 o'clock, I looked at rounds for tomorrow, and I booked a 9:40 tee time. And it's not the residents who are keeping us from making money. The big thing in my mind is how do we get the public to slide into the prime slots? Because 23% of them, or excuse me, 66% of them don't want to pay for prime. So how do we figure out our pricing? How do we get Troon to figure out our pricing to slide more in? Maybe reduce some of the primetime pricing, maybe offset it by slightly higher non-prime.
Great, thank you. Some good ideas. Next up,
Glenn Schubert,
Glenn.
followed by Douglas Hanson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you again for your comments at the beginning of the meeting. Appreciate that, Brian. Thank you for moving this up on the agenda. So my name's Glenn Schubert. I'm a resident of Indian Wells, and I have a golf resident benefit card. So in looking at the staff report, I was a little concerned when you're going to look at this and try and deliberate on, any type of resident benefit. But on page 4 of the staff report of the comprehensive overview and discussion of resident golf rates, under T-sheet allocation and rate structure, it states, during fiscal year 2023 to 24, resident play comprised 12,632 rounds. However, later in the report, under round usage, allocation, and revenue on page 8, it states, during fiscal year 2023 to 24, the golf resort received 18,456 total resident rounds, prime and non-prime. Furthermore, in the staff report regarding, and you took this off the consent calendar, the analysis of Troon Access loyalty program, under fiscal impact on page 3, it states, in the prior year, the resort recorded 19,235 qualifying resident rounds. So my confusion is the disparity in the number of resident rounds. Because, especially if they're using the staff report for that analysis of the Troon loyalty program, if it was last year, and I'd hate to assume anything, but I'm assuming that means FY 24 to 25, the players course was closed from March 1st to June 30th, because I'm using that calendar academic year, losing a total of 122 days of golf rounds. Also, on page 9 of the report that we're discussing right now, it says, of the more than 40,000 rounds of play at the celebrity course in calendar year 2025. And my question is, why are we now using the calendar year? And why are we only using the celebrity course? Because in 2025, the players course was open too. So I'm kind of confused about that. And finally, in reviewing the attachment that the gentleman just mentioned, in attachment number 2, it's hard to determine. And one of the things that the council asked for was to get it broken down by prime and non-prime allocation for the resident rounds. So, but you can't tell from that where they were playing prime or non-prime. So I would just respectfully ask you to obtain clarification on the numbers being used to calculate, number one, the estimated net benefit to the city if you go with the True and Loyalty program, and before any modifications are made to the resident or resident guest rates. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We have any more public comments?
Yes, we have two more. Douglas Hansen, followed by Eric Johnson.
Good afternoon again.
Again, Happy New Year.
Again.
Wait a minute, you gotta give me some more time, Angelica. You're running off. I haven't even got here yet. Okay. I would hope that you would afford me the same luxury and opportunity that you gave Rob Bernheimer during the pickleball, in case I go over my 3 minutes. I'm really probably not going, I wasn't even going to speak to this issue today until I got the response from a resident that you sent to one of our residents, wherein, I'm paraphrasing now because I can't find a sheet of paper here, where you said that we being you and everyone else, had a problem with the BNP Parabol allocation of tickets, and you changed that to a lottery system, and that resolved the problem. Well, sir, no disrespect to you. That issue was addressed during my term, and me and the council took care of that problem. And the problem was as a result of the council members at the time giving out tickets to their friends, not because of any allocation problem. It was us trying to stop the whatever you want to call it, council members giving their friends benefits that they should not have been given. But gentlemen, and it's been said before, residence rates in Indian Wells is an iconic symbol of Indian Wells. To destroy that in any way, in the elimination or the change of the 14-day tee time, or the number of times a golfer can play, destroys the resident amenity. And in my opinion, that's the last thing you want to do, because once you do that, and in Peabody's letter, he said, you might as well become Palm Desert. Why have the cost of this administration? Because you're just another city in the valley without libraries, without swimming pools, without baseball fields, tennis courts, whatever, or basketball courts, whatever. It's the one thing that Indian Wells has got. Now, you come into town, Doper, no disrespect again, on your Trojan horse and live behind the gates of the, you like that one, Trojan? At the Vintage. Well, Charlie Wheat, who lived outside those gates in an issue that came up between the city, said, you know, we live outside the gates, but we do not live in an unwashed area. So therefore, the issue is, you know, and I'm happy that you play golf over there. So let me digress for a second, getting ahead of myself here. I believe, and have always believed, and council members before me believed, that the Indian Wells had an implied contract with the residents when in 2005, when they were getting ready to
cut to the chase here, please.
Huh?
Let's please cut to the chase. Thank you.
Right. It said, please note, residents' taxes will not increase as a result of the renovation, and residents' green fees will remain at the current low level. Okay? I believe, and have always believed, as well as my fellow council members at the time, is that the city entered into a contract with the residents to keep the golf rates. And it didn't say golf rates for a year, 2 years, 10 years. It said golf rates the same. And therefore, I think you have an implied contract with the residents. And in order to change that, you would have to get the residents to agree to any change in that resident amenity.
That's another good idea. Your time is up, so I'm going to ask that you conclude.
Okay. And so basically, I'll conclude with that. I just think you need to understand that, and we need to move on. As
But that's a
others
good
have
idea.
said.
Thank you.
Get that.
Is there
okay?
another speaker? Yeah, here we go.
We have Eric Johnson, and then we have two more, Mayor. I misspoke. I have
Two more.
two more. after
Okay.
this. Yes, thank you.
My next thing. Okay, thank you. My name is Eric Johnson. I live behind the gates at Indian Wells Country Club. Concur with many of the comments here and appreciate them very much, and I won't repeat them. I'm glad to hear your comments, because I was going to comment about the same thing. I have friends that are trying to move to Indian Wells because of the remarkable benefits there are to residents. And the only other thing I just wanted to add is I think the changes to the players course were phenomenal, and
Thank you.
certainly hope that we're able to get an LPGA event if that's the goal, and it does bring me back to being a resident, being proud to be able to host people that come to the hotels from all over and stay and play the golf course. That's something I take a lot of pride in as a resident, and when the tournament's here, you can look for volunteers, and if I can be a volunteer at that tournament, again, that'll be part of being a resident, part of the relationship between the residents and the government, and I think that's important to foster that, and I encourage you to keep that in mind.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Two more?
Yes, two more. We have Alex Soshin, and followed by Dan Wimsat.
Alec, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, esteemed council. Really appreciate it, esteemed board. I came to Indian Wells about 4 years ago and am a proud resident of Casa Dorado. And when we were looking at the beautiful communities across the valley, including Palm Desert, where we rented at Sandpiper, one of the things that really drew us here was the world-class golf facility. I don't have to play 100 rounds to know what an absolutely spectacular resource that is. And to be able to offer it to all our residents at a rate that is reasonable at a time when all of the other expenses around us are going up, whether we are private residents, whether we are in a condo, whether we're renting, we have the amazing opportunity to see the benefits every day. Not everyone has to use it. We all benefit because the real estate prices reflect, I think, a premium of that amenity. And yesterday at Meet the City Manager, we heard about the amazing economic vitality of Indian Wells. $100 million we have in cash. We have an amazing reserve. We have fully funded pension benefits. So there's no economic rationale for revising the numbers, increasing the numbers, reducing the rounds. We talked about, there's a delta of maybe $2 to $6 million that we're leaving on the table, debatable. We have an amazing amenity. We have a resort that now is making money and is profitable. All of the things are rounding into shape. We're emerging after 5 years of COVID, and it's only going to get better. This amenity should be the last thing that your team, your staff, and your board is looking on how to rationalize and how to improve and how do we extract more profit out of this amazing gem. The golf resort is doing well, and the residents are enjoying their benefit. Leave it alone. Thank you.
Thank you. One more comment?
Gentlemen, can you hear me okay?
Sorry, what's your name?
Dan Wimsat.
Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon.
First of all, I want to start out by saying I appreciate all the work that all of you do, and all of Chris and Eric and Kevin and the Troon guys. I actually am here to represent the other side of what we just heard. I believe, the silent majority that doesn't like the status quo. And I can't give you a pitch in 3 minutes, all of you, but I do want to just talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about financial flexibility for all of us, and I want to talk about fairness. So this packet was great, the 12 pages, and I think on page 6 it says beginning in 2019. just after Chris got here, we embarked upon a rigorous study of this topic. And back at that time, just to go back, the average rate for the golf course was $86. For residents, it's been $41 on average when you blend it in for the year. You fast forward 6 years later, the average rate right now is about $140, $141, and the resident rate consistent is what it is at 41. So you've got the outside play right now is contributing 10 times as much money to the coffers than we are, and I'm a little bit concerned that that's a little bit too much. It's not about we need to make more money from the residents, but if you want to talk about just fairness for a little bit, that Exhibit 2 that has been talked about a couple times today, that is called the Unique Visits Report. And this is from a year ago, 18 months ago. But I think it told us some interesting things. The top 1% of the people that played in that year played on average 115 times. You take a third of the Indian Wells population that's playing, a third play either once or twice. I actually think that has more to do with course availability than anything else. Just looking at out of the 1,400 people that played, if you're in the top 100, you played 68 times on average. Well, back in 2019, it cost about, and we talked about the subsidies, about the reduced subsidies for the residents.
Need you to kind of come to the conclusion here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to
I
cut
would
you
like to
off.
have, I'll tell you what I would like to do
Okay.
is, I'd like to have at some point in time, whether it's Councilmember Whitman and your group or the Golf Advisory Committee, I'd love to have a 30-minute presentation and get serious about this issue, because it's not about taking anything away.
Understood. Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it very much. All right, does anybody, that's our last comment?
That is, and I did want to acknowledge that we did receive over 30 public comments, written comments. All will be included as part of the agenda record for today.
Excellent, thank you so much. So I've been asked that we maybe take a bio break for 5 minutes before we come back for discussion. Is everybody on council amenable to that? Okay, so 5 minutes and then we'll come back. Thank you very much.
How much time do we have?
Do you need to go?
I just need to get some.
Let's get this meeting back in order. Come on back in, sit down if you're interested in staying. If you'd like to leave, feel free to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat. We're going to call this meeting back to order. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat. We're going to call this meeting back to order. Would you kindly close the chamber doors? Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Okay, so now that we've completed public comments, we're moving on to council discussion. Is there a motion to provide direction?
I motion to leave everything as it is now, and not change anything.
I second.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Okay. Dana, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Let me start with the real estate values. There is no question but that our real estate values are improved because of the amenities that the city provides. That's just not debatable, and anyone that suggests otherwise is just not accurate. Of course, the benefits accrue to the property values and are very important. But it's not just golf. We have lots of amenities. We've got golf, we've got tennis tickets, we have resident parties, events at the Living Desert, Akashur Arena events, Desert Town Hall, all kinds of amenities that are available to those people with resident benefit cards. And actually, one of the most incredible benefit we have that we don't really ever discuss, but when new people come to town, they are completely flabbergasted. And that is the benefit that we don't have to take our garbage out every week like everybody else. And that's because the city, who's ultimately responsible for picking up the garbage, has contracted with a contractor to pick up the garbage and come into our side yards, empty our trash cans, and put them back. And that's just people that have moved in here, they've never heard of such a thing. It's so incredible, and we never really discuss it, but I would argue that that's one amenity that accrues to the entire city and the others not necessarily to the entire city. Now, some of the amenities are limited and some are unlimited. For example, the trash is unlimited. I live here, I use it 52 weeks a year. 52 weeks a year, Burtec comes in on behalf of the city and picks up my trash. My neighbors, some are there 4 weeks a year, some there 8 weeks a year, maybe probably the average is 12 weeks a year. They pay the same as I do, but they only get their trash picked up 12 times a year. I get mine picked up 52 times a year. But it's unlimited. By my using it 52 times, I'm not hurting my neighbor. I'm not taking anything away from my neighbor, because my neighbor could also do 52 if he or she wanted to, but doesn't want to. That's not the way it works with the golf or the tennis or any kind of tickets. Because if I use a golf time, 7:30 on Saturday morning, nobody else can use it. That's mine. I have now eliminated that spot for the entire rest of the community. And what is the rest of the community? Kevin tells us in his presentation, there are 2,642 residents who have paid extra to be a golf benefit resident. 2,642. If I take a tee time at 7:30 on a Saturday morning, I am taking that opportunity away from 2,441 people because I have taken it and it is not replaceable. That's entirely different than using the garbage 52 times a year. It is totally unfair. Now, there are 96 starts per day during the prime season, during the prime time. 96, that's all. There are 2,642 people who are eligible for those 96 spots. And when somebody takes more than their share, more than one, they are depriving everyone else of that 2,642 people the opportunity to use that. It is not fair. It needs to be addressed. I don't know how to address it. I don't have an answer. I just know that it needs to be addressed. Now, a lot has been said about, the residents want this, the residents want that. Okay, I've been in politics and government my entire adult life. There really are very, very few ways to determine what the residents want, but there are ways, and it's really good. One is to take a public opinion survey, where you ask questions and you get answers from a representative sample of the population that you want to ask, and we could do that. There's two problems with it. Number one, that's a little expensive. They're not cheap. And number two, it all goes to the question that you ask. A lot of polls are really phony polls because the question is asked in a way that generates the answer that the person taking the poll wants to hear. So, I mean, it's worthless in that regard, but it can be done, and if it's done professionally, we could take a public opinion survey of the residents and find out once and for all what the residents really want. A far less expensive and far, I believe, better way to do it is to have focus groups. And a focus group is where you take maybe a dozen people at random, out of the 2,642 people who paid money to be able to use the golf course. You take a dozen people, maybe at a time, and you put them in a room, give them a cup of coffee and a donut, and you say, how can we make your investment in the golf resident card more effective? And let an open-ended question where they can tell you what they need and what they're looking for. And I believe that we could do that very inexpensively. We would need more than one focus group, maybe 4, but then we would have a body of knowledge from a representative group of the 2,642 people who have resident golf cards, and we can then make a decision based upon what the residents want, not the people who are just in favor of the status quo and don't want to make any change whatsoever. And so that's my recommendation, that we explore this further, that we find out what the residents want. But first of all, we acknowledge that the existing system is totally unfair, completely unfair, that a very, very small number of people are monopolizing what is a very precious resource, and that is 96 spots per day. That's my 2 cents worth.
Greg, do you have comments?
I do. Thank you. I was going to lead with something else, but I just want to pick up where Councilman Reed left off. I believe that if there's a system which can more equitably distribute among the residents the available rounds for residents who have a resident benefit card, that the number of residents who play at the golf resort would dramatically increase. And I say that because my neighbors, most of whom are golfers, are really frustrated with the present system. They get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, but those who are very familiar with how the system works have already booked the tee times that my neighbors would like to have. And so that system just, I want to use the word gamed. It gets gamed. I don't mean it in necessarily a pejorative sense, but those who are most familiar with it
Have an advantage.
have an advantage. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not an expert in this, but I'm sure the mind of man can create a better system. So I'm in agreement with Councilman Reed on that point. I think we ought to spend some time and think about how we can make that system more accessible, more equitable. Second thing, I said, I don't know, 4 years ago, when the golf resort was hemorrhaging money, that I don't care what the resident rate is. If the golf resort makes money, let the residents golf for free. Now, that was kind of a hyperbolic statement. I didn't really mean that, you know, they would have free access to the golf resort, but what I intended was that, sure, if it's making money, the residents ought to have cheap, readily available access to the golf courses. And we are making money now, and I think we need to continue with the resident benefits for the golf resort as they are, with the exception of the reservation system. Okay. I want to correct a statement that was made in the IW Views. Look, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts. And IW Views laid at the feet of the city manager the responsibility for this dust-up that we're having. He had nothing to do with it, absolutely nothing. The review that we're undertaking today is the result of the city council requesting the review. And you can go back and look at the minutes from the strategic planning session that we had last year. It's reflected in the minutes. It was a city council initiated review. Anybody who was there, I'm sure will recall. Okay, finally, and this is kind of the ultimate irony, the author of IW Views believes, and he's entitled to his opinion, he believes that the resident rates are chiseled in stone. They should not be changed. Look, at a special city council meeting, Wednesday, February 1st, 2017, the resident rate for the season, the season period, was raised from $35 to $50. The motion was made by Mayor Balaco. The motion was seconded by Councilmember Peabody, and it passed 4-1. Councilman Reed voted against it. So apparently, the resident rates aren't so chiseled in stone. Thank you.
Is anybody else on the council that want to have comment?
Yes. I tend to look at the 2642. I first have a question. If I want to get a resident card, maybe for the city manager, if I want to get a resident card and not for golf, is it free? How much is it? $10. Okay. For that $10, is that right? $10?
That sounds correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the, excuse me.
I thought it was 9.
9, I don't know, 9, 10. For that $10 or $9, a resident can have all of the amenities other than golf. Is that correct? 20% off at the restaurant, 20% off at other restaurants, tickets, the whole thing.
Not all restaurants, but other items been designated on our resident benefit sheet. Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
There's
so
a variety of benefits in the community.
Okay, so everything other than golf, you still have the right to.
That is correct.
The same. Okay. So I tend to look at this a little bit differently. We have a very intelligent community here, very highly intelligent. And I see the fact that 2,642 of our 5,000 or so residents who have voted with their feet, with their dollars, hard-earned dollars, to pay for a golf resident card, $50 instead of $9 or $10. To me, that is the silent majority. That's the people that are saying, we like the golf amenity, whether we're going to play golf or not. We want our neighbors to have it, and we want to have it because it helps our property values, it helps our neighbors. And if I want to go over there and play golf, I want to go over there and play golf for $35 or $50, even if it's only once or only twice. I want that availability. And there's nothing hard about this so-called system. You get up 14 days before now everybody can't play at 7:30 in the morning. There's no doubt about that. There's only 4 people that can play at the 7:30 tee time. 8. 2 golf courses. 8 people can play at 7:30. So everybody can't play at 7:30. And if that's what the problem is, we are never going to solve that problem with some other system. Because you can play at 9:30 or you can play at 10:30 if you don't get the 7:30 tee time. If you haven't gotten up at the moment of 6 a.m. to get your 7:30 a.m. tee time, get it another. So,
Is that,
okay.
does that conclude your comments?
No.
Okay.
People have their eyes wide open that they want to have this golf amenity the way it is, and that they're paying for the golf cart. The system is fair because everybody that has a golf card that pays $50 for it can do the exact same thing as anybody else that has a golf benefit card, and they can get the exact same tee time if they're first in line. We talked about a lottery. You can't do a lottery for this like you did for the tennis. They'd have to do a lot. They'd have to get up. These guys would have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and do a lottery every morning. It's crazy. So the system is absolutely fair because it's equal for everybody. The 70% of our residents live behind gates. That's 3,500 people. 30% live outside the gates, 1,500. Now, those are probably the majority of golf holders, but clearly people that live in the country clubs that probably play at their own private golf courses, they buy maybe 1,000 or more of these golf cards because they want to be able to go and play golf at the golf resort too sometimes. Maybe not all the time. Maybe their golf courses are closed for renovation. Maybe they just want to go and play for $35, play another golf course. So attachment number 2, which we've heard a lot about, one, you can make statistics say anything you want when you start getting to statistics, any good business person. So what the staff report says is that 50% of the people, 50% of the tee times are taken up by 161 residents. Okay, but 600 residents play 8 times or more a year. And a lot of people are seasonal. So 8 times a year might be once a month. And that's 600 people that are using the golf card and using the golf rounds. Certainly they've figured out how to get tee times. Maybe they didn't get the 7:30 tee time. But I'll be damned if we should change our whole system because everybody can't play at 7:30. And that's what I've been hearing for the last 10 years since I've been in town and on the golf resort committee. I have heard no complaints in a long time from anybody. I don't know where these complaints are coming from, but I have heard no complaints from people that they can't get a tee time. And nobody came in here today, out of 30 people who wrote letters, out of all the people that came and spoke, 9 people or 10 people, nobody said that they can't get a tee time, not one person. To me, golf is our city's identity. It always has been, it always will be. We don't have libraries, tennis courts, bocce courts. We don't have all of the stuff that other cities have. We have golf. Nonetheless, Indian Wells is arguably the most successful city in the valley and one of the most successful in the state. Even though we have $35 and $50 golf, we're still successful. And, you know, my father was a poker player. And he played in Las Vegas, high-stakes poker. And one of the things he told me is something that I think fits here. Never, ever change or fold a winning hand. We have a winning hand. We have 4 aces. We have 4 aces. Why do we want to throw those away? Let's just keep it the way it is.
Are you concluding the comment? Okay. Brian, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I just have a few points to make. It's obvious that we are making our golf courses way too nice because we have a supply and demand issue. We have 2 golf courses, and yes, there's folks that are very excited about playing golf, and they're getting on somehow. Everybody has the same opportunity to do the same. Has Troon opined on this issue? Who's really controlling the tee times? That would be Troon management, not this council up here and not these residents out here. So where is the problem? I don't play golf, so I never get a tee time, and I'm totally fine with it. I'm not waking up at 6. I'm not waking up at 8 to play golf. I'd rather sleep in and do something else, eat and hang out with my wife. But golf is just not my number 1 priority. But I do hear everybody, and I do hear the majority of you saying, don't change anything. But there is a few people that are saying it's being gamed, and you know what, maybe they're just not as good as gaming it as the other people are. That may just be the case. But really, when tee times come down to it, it's a supply and demand issue. We have 2 beautiful courses. We have an amazing golf resort. And why are we complaining? This city is so amazing that this issue has been going on. We've been talking about this for how many hours now? Come on. I don't see why we should change anything when it's not broken. If there's an issue with somebody gaming the system, Troon should take a look at it and bring something to the council or to Chris Freeland, our amazing city manager that helps us make this city great and have all these amazing amenities. I can't say more. I can't say any more to the fact that we shouldn't change it. We should just do something internal with Troon. Leave the rate alone. We made $11 million in the black in this past fiscal year. That's all I have to say.
Just as a couple of footnotes, Doug, your comment or anybody's concern about me living in the Vintage Club, I pay taxes just like everyone. I pay for my annual golf card just like everyone, and I have a right to play the golf course just like everyone. And I choose to play what golf course I want to play. And I love the Players Course, and I love the Celebrity Course, and I proudly bring members from the Vintage Club over to those courses that haven't played it before to show them the excellence not only of the condition of the course, but also the architecture of the course. I could have chosen to live at Bighorn. I could have chosen to live in the Madison Club, but I didn't. I chose to live here, and I chose to live here in Indian Wells for a whole lot of reasons. So I want to make that clear. Ty, your snarky comment too about, this is my first, agenda as mayor. The city council asked for a review. The review came together. It came together this particular month. I put it on the agenda because we believe in transparency and communication. And I fully enjoyed this entire conversation here. This is not good versus bad or people who want, demand get tea times and are not getting them. This is about having a healthy conversation about probably our single most important asset and how we're managing it. We have to have these conversations. Maybe people don't like to have them. Maybe people love to have them. I can tell you that I got as many communications about, let's change it, let's increase the rates, et cetera, from people who did not show up here today as people who did. So all we're trying to do as a governing board of the city is to make sure that the access to the course is fair. It may be that the fees charged may be the right fees charged, but we need to review it just like we need to review our landscaping contract. What we didn't talk about today in the presentation that was sent around to everybody was the fact that if you look at what other courses are charging their residents in our neighboring communities, they're in alignment with our $50 fee. That's just a fact. It's not a comment, it's a fact. And I think that's an interesting fact. There's also, a variety of other charges that people get away with. They charge $50 for a cart fee, or they'll charge maybe more if you book further in advance. But at the end of the day, $55 seems to be kind of the number, and I wanted to go on record saying that because that was a lot of work that I believe, Eric, you did, and nobody has referenced it here, so thank you for doing that. We have the great irony of all this is this was presented not as anything to motion to move or to change or anything, but rather just to present data, and I was going to move it to file. But obviously, we've had a very healthy, robust conversation, which is what democracy is all about. So we have a motion on the table that is to not change anything with regard to the fee structure or the access, and therefore I guess we're going to need to vote on that or amend it.
Well,
Dana.
I have a substitute motion.
Okay.
And the substitute motion is take council option number 2, which is to request additional analysis, specifically Councilmember Penna's suggestion that Chris meet with Troon to determine, what is doable and what is not doable. I think that was a great idea, Commissioner or Council Member. Thank you very much. And my substitute motion is to adopt council option number 2.
Which is?
Request additional analysis.
So let's restate it by saying it's an amendment, right? So we're not going to.
No, it's a substitute.
It's a substitute motion. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second the motion if the maker of the motion would agree that we're not going to mess with the rates.
I'll be happy to do that. Well, I voted against it last time.
Right, you did.
We'll vote against it again. Yes, I accept that amendment.
So it's all about
fairness,
equitable access.
And it's research. It's nothing more than research.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Discussion. Anybody would like to discuss that?
Well,
yes. Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, for the record, I do pay for the golf benefit, and I don't use it. I just wanted everybody to know that. Go ahead.
I don't think we need, personally, I don't think we need any further analysis. We have a 12-page analysis that's been done at great time and expense. It basically hasn't shown anything that would counteract our original motion to keep things the same. It just prolongs the agony. What are we going to do? Bring it back with with another agenda item next month or 2 months from now to change the access? I just don't see any reason to continue this. We have a lot of important things to cover this year. Mayor Taylor has been very busy his first month, and which I think is fantastic. He's done a lot of work on a lot of different issues. We have a lot of things coming up, and I don't think we're going to change anything. And I see no reason to go back and continue to agitate on this issue. So that's my statement.
Okay, being the maker of this motion, I have yet to hear anything from Troon that there is a problem. Okay, let the record reflect. So,
Excuse me, I was the maker of the motion.
no, I was the original.
Well, but we're talking about the substitute motion.
Yeah, but the substitute motion hasn't been voted on.
Well, that's what we're discussing it.
Right, that's what I'm discussing.
So you're opposed to, okay, fine. I thought you were discussing your motion. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so in the spirit of settling the matter, which obviously doesn't appear that's going to happen, I just don't see that there's a reason to push this off and have another staff report, have Troon do a deep dive dig on where the problem is. If there's a problem, they would have done this already. I would assume that Troon would have done this, and that's what in my comments I was alluding to, that there isn't evidence that's being brought to the council. I've received more emails yesterday, more emails in one day, and I've been on council for a year and 2 months now on this issue. Pickleball I thought was pretty exciting. I got quite a few.
Brian, I'm going to ask that we keep to the subject.
I know, but
Thank you.
my point is it's obviously a very hyper-focused issue with the residents for me to get to receive that many emails.
So are you?
I want to stick with the original motion, not to change anything, and that's where I stand.
Okay, so because I believe the protocol would be to focus on the amended motion first. Yes. And so why don't we vote on the amended motion, which would be to request that city staff, along with Troon, investigate the fairness of the current system to ensure that to comment on whether the current system is fair or can be improved for accessibility, equitable accessibility. Yes. Okay, so let's take a roll call.
Councilmember Whitman?
No.
Councilmember Reed?
Yes.
Councilmember Sanders?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Penna?
No.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Passes 3-0.
Okay, so and do we not need to vote then on the original? Okay. All right. So, and the reason I voted yes is so that we can just be more informed in our decision making. Let's move on then to
H1.
H or I. Is it
H1, the public hearing, please.
Okay. Which is the what?
H1. The ADU ordinance, the
Yeah.
public hearing.
Page 6, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. There it is, sorry. So the ordinance amending Chapter 21.85 of the Indian Wells Municipal Code relating to accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units. We'll now hear a report. Director Berg.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. John Berg, Community Development Director. The item before you right now is a recommendation to formally adopt new state mandated housing legislation, which you actually previously adopted as an urgency ordinance at your December meeting. As of January 1st, this new laws regulating the development of accessory dwelling units went into effect. Basically, accessory dwelling units for the public's benefit are commonly known as ADUs, are basically additional residential homes on single-family lots and multifamily lots. So they serve as a second residential unit to the primary dwelling unit. The difference between a JADU and an ADU is that junior or JADUs can be no larger than 500 square feet, and they're completely built within the walls of the existing primary unit. So you could think of them as kind of a studio apartment or a one-bedroom studio apartment. They have efficiency kitchens, and sometimes they share the latrine or the restroom facilities with the main house. And sometimes they are fully contained units, but they do have a separate access door to their unit, even though they are as part of the primary unit. ADUs, on the other hand, can be either attached or detached to the primary dwelling unit, and they're usually larger in size, between 850 to 1,000. They can be up to 2 bedrooms, and some of them are converted ADUs, which is you can take your garage or another structure on site and convert it into an ADU or a secondary unit. A few of the more noteworthy changes to legislation include AB 1154, which removes the owner occupancy requirement for the JADUs. As I described before, a JADU could either share a restroom facility with the primary unit, or they could have a self-contained facility. If they do have self-contained facilities, they no longer have to have an owner occupancy requirement. In the past, that was a requirement regardless if they shared or had their own restroom. SB 543 provides clarification that you can now have up to 4 units on your property on a single-family residential lot, consisting of the primary dwelling unit, a detached ADU, a converted ADU, and also a junior or a JADU. So in essence, they've converted what used to be a single-family lot into a multifamily lot. And all of those properties can be rented. SB 9 also creates a penalty by rendering the local ADU ordinance null and void if the cities don't submit a compliant ADU ordinance to HCD within 60 days of adoption. So it's timely to adopt the new legislation and get it over to HCD so they can go ahead and approve it for us. A sequence of events as they've occurred so far, as I mentioned, at the December meeting, the City Council did adopt an urgency ordinance, which is basically the ordinance that is before you today. It did go to the Planning Commission on December 18th as a formal review and a public hearing, and they recommended the City Council go ahead and adopt the ADU ordinance formally, and that's where we're at today, January 15th, with your consideration for adopting the ADU ordinance. Just real quickly, there is a little bit of housekeeping we have to do. We had the Planning Commission review the draft ordinance, and when we converted it to the City Council ordinance, there was a little administrative error that happened in the ordinance. So the clerk has passed around the revised or clean copy of the ordinance, and we just want to make sure that that's the ordinance that you understand that you're adopting today. So with that, staff is recommending that council waives full reading of and introduces the ordinance by title, amending chapters 2185 of the City of Indian Wells Municipal Code relating to the accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units to comply with the recent changes in state law as I described, and find that the adoption of the proposed ordinance is statutorily exempt from review under CEQA under the Public Resources Code 21080.17. That is my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
So this has been a really hot topic. I was in Sacramento, and it's a hot topic in cities like Indian Wells that, where Sacramento is very focused on density. And they are basically allowing ADUs to go up on property without increasing plumbing, parking, et cetera, et cetera. It's remarkable. So what we're doing here in the simplest analysis is to adopt the California state recommended kind of rules, and we don't really have a choice, do we? Okay, what if we vote no?
Well, let me.
We're out of
Let
compliance.
me preface it by saying we already do have an ADU ordinance in effect, and it tries to give the city as much local control as we can actually have. Here, the state has come and made some new changes to the legislation in this year that we're just making sure that we incorporate because, as I said, we have 60 days to adopt this and send it to the state, or else it defaults back to the state's rules and regulations, which basically strips us of our local control.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mayor and council, if I may
Please.
interject a little bit.
Oh my goodness.
What's before you today is just a readoption of what you already adopted through urgency ordinance on December 4th. And the only reason why we're readopting it is because last time was through an urgency ordinance. We always want to chase an urgency ordinance with a normal adoption so that we don't have to lean on the urgency findings any longer than we need to. Why are we adopting these changes at all? Because this ordinance is written to maximize local control within the ever-changing bounds of state law. State law has changed. We have to adjust to that. Otherwise, the entire ordinance becomes null and void. And as John said, we have to approve ADUs willy-nilly under just the few scant standards in state law. By adopting this back in December 4th and readopting it now, you're ensuring that the city is able to exercise as much local control as possible within the very uncomfortable confines of a tightening state scheme. But it is intentionally, I can assure you that it is intentionally written to maximize local control as much as we can still. So, and again, it's what you saw on the 4th.
Any comments for staff?
Question.
Questions.
Very
Excuse
brief,
me.
easy question. Does a junior ADU have to have its own separate entrance?
Yes, it does.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay.
It needs to have an autonomous entrance.
Yeah, thank you.
Bruce, did you have a comment?
No.
Brian?
I have a silly comment. What is the setback for an ADU that contains its own door, its own bathroom, its own kitchen?
Well, so that's where the local control comes into it. The state requires, and we have to accept 4-foot setbacks from the side and the rear, but we could apply a more stringent setback in the front, and we have done that. We applied a 25-foot setback in the front. We're generally so it kind of offsets the look of a street frontage where you have the house up front, and you're not able to build the ADU all the way out to be in line with that. It's 5 feet back from there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And just my kind of final comment on this, because again, we don't have that much choice but to adopt it, is that, I spent the last few weeks meeting with all the HOAs in the city, and they could literally, someone could put 4 ADUs on a lot at Indian Wells or El Dorado and rent them without the ability for the club to stop that from happening. It's an extraordinary measure coming in from Sacramento. Anybody have a motion to adopt?
Point of order, I believe we have to have a public hearing.
Public hearing, I apologize. I'm looking out at the public and, there you go. Anybody have any comments? No comments. Okay. Any comments from council?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Under discussion, just one comment. All of this ad hoc, willy-nilly legislation pouring out of Sacramento for the past 7 or 8 years to resolve the housing crisis in California could be resolved if the legislature would simply bring back redevelopment agencies.
All right.
In one fell swoop, you could handle the whole problem.
Amen.
All right. So I believe we unanimously passed this. Is there any other agenda items?
Was there an
Yes.
implied vote? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
There is, but I'll tell you what, I requested consideration of inclusion of a resident impact statement. I would like to table that till the next meeting, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah, it's okay with me.
You're talking about item I3?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying.
And I think that then does it.
I
other
think
than
that leaves item I1.
I1 is
Mr.
still
Mayor.
there.
Yeah, that's the
Oh,
only
I1
one.
is still there.
Well,
Right?
I can read the tea leaves, so I'm going to make this really short. What's before you is just a clarification of the existing statement in the municipal code as to what constitutes the planning agency.
Oh.
That's a technical term. I, as your city attorney, I took a look at it as part of the governance committee's review, and I felt that it was ambiguous and needed clarification. And the governance committee, I believe the ad hoc committee, is recommending this change, and so I encourage you to recommend it to make your job and my job easier. I'm available for any questions.
Move approval.
Second.
Do we need to ask for public comment? Okay, so we have a motion on the table. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
All right.
Are we doing I2?
I2's
pulled.
pulled.
Pulled? Okay. Then
I3 was tabled.
tabled.
I4,
I4,
we obviously handled.
we talked about. So now we're going into the council member reports and comments.
All right.
Councilmember Whitman, you're up.
California Joint Power Insurance Authority, we recently got a report of the current claims from Nick. Thank you, Nick. And I think we all got a report on that. We do have some significant claims pending, but mostly being taken care of. The Coachella Valley Children's Museum, there's a meeting coming up. They do have an event coming up on February 3rd at Los Consuelos Nuevos. I guess it's sort of a fundraising event, but it's apparently a very nice event. So I would urge everybody to go if you want to support the Children's Museum, which is a fabulous place. The Cove Communities Services Commission, I guess the action there was the letters back and forth in the Joslin Center between the management and the staff, and I won't go into that any further because we have nothing to do with it. But that's kind of what's been going on there. The Desert Sands, we're meeting, I think, is it tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow, Greg, right? I believe.
It is.
And Golf Advisory Committee. Sunline Transit Agency is conducting a community survey and would like people to answer it, to tell them what they would like to see in terms of changes or improvements to either routing or cost or anything else. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reed.
Mr. Reed, okay, Conservation Commission met. We got a report from the IID regarding an endangered species survey, not a survey, a census that they took in both the Coachella Valley and the Imperial Valley for the horn-toad something or other, whatever. Anyway, the bottom line is this: the state is about ready to name that an endangered species, which IID
Ouch.
and everyone seems to think is going to be a serious problem. But apparently it really is not an issue here or in the Imperial Valley. Help me, I'm looking at you here because I know you've been involved in this.
It is
But
for
they're
dust.
looking for support to make sure that we are carved out of any restriction or as part of the endangered species. Because while it is endangered in some parts of the state, it is not endangered here according to the census that was taken by IID. That was a long discussion and one of very much concern. They indicated that they were dealing with city staff and that you were aware of it, and that there may be an action item coming down the pike. I'm no longer on energy and sustainability, so we'll take that off. Desert Recreation District, Council Member Sanders and I met with them. I'll let him be more specific if he wishes. The Governance Committee met yesterday, and basically I'll let the mayor make that decision. Marketing Committee has not met, and the Finance Committee meets, I guess, next week. Very quickly, Today, during public comment, or in the beginning, we heard from the AQMD regarding gas leaf blowers.
Yeah.
Those of you that have been on the council for a while know we had a very long, spirited, and somewhat contentious discussion about banning gas leaf blowers in the city. Most of the country clubs ban them themselves, so that really only mostly affects those people that live outside of the gated communities. And yet the council decided not to ban them. But now that the AQMD is offering, if I understand him what he's correctly, up to $15,000 to replace the gas leaf blowers and mowers with electric or battery operated leaf blowers or mowers, I would like at the strategic planning conference to at least discuss, do we want to revisit the question of banning gas leaf blowers and mowers on a citywide basis? If you don't want to do it, then you don't want to do it. But I think we made a mistake in not doing it a couple of years ago, and I'd like to revisit that.
So is that a actionable item?
Well, it's a request of staff. I
To-
think it requires,
To
what does it require?
Requires us
To-
to vote on it.
to review what?
Bring it back on a future agenda? Is that-
Yes.
Is it a votable item, or is it just requesting the staff do some research about? I couldn't distinguish.
Well, of course, the research has all been done. I mean, I don't think the research has changed. What has changed is now we have a governmental entity that is willing to pay these gardeners up to $15,000 if they will switch to
An electric leaf
to an
blower.
electric or
Does that make noise? Do we know if that makes noise?
Not nearly as much.
About half. It's about
Mayor and council, if I might, just to clarify, Mr. Reed, is your suggestion that the council consider on a future agenda adopting
a ban.
a ban?
Yes.
Okay,
Which
thank
is
you.
Gas-powered motor.
On gas-powered,
Specifically?
Yeah, which we did, we debated that a couple of years ago and decided not to do it. Now, there is a new incentive that makes it almost.
Understood.
Never mind, you understand what I'm saying.
Understood.
For
Okay.
clarification, though, is it for a future agenda or specifically for strategic planning?
I'm gonna say future agenda and let the mayor, you and the mayor decide. First of all, I don't know whether the council wants to revisit it or not. If they do, I'd leave it to you and the mayor to decide.
What's the
when to
will of the
read.
council?
I'm
Put it
in
on a
I'll
future-
second it. I'll second it.
Yeah, let's get it on the agenda.
Yeah, I think there's a state mandate for all gas-powered lawn equipment not to be sold.
So
that's coming.
let's
If
put it on a
I'm-
future agenda.
We will, just as a recollection, we will move forward on this on a future agenda. One of the reasons the council at that time chose not to move forward is, one, because the state ban was coming, but two is sometimes we were finding that the electric blowers or lawnmowers were actually louder than the gas-powered ones.
That's
But
my
technology
understanding as
may
well.
has changed since then.
But let's see what happens.
like we need a
And we have HOAs that we're gonna need to confer on this. Anyway, all right, is that it?
We need to vote on it, right?
For me, yes.
No,
I'm for-
it's just, I think the will of the council is to put
Pretty
it on a
clear.
future agenda. Everybody agreed. All
I
right?
heard at least 3 yeses. And
We heard at least
possibly
3
5.
yeses. Okay, next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have much to report since our December meeting, except that we are having the 2+2 meeting with the Desert Unified School District tomorrow. That's Councilman Whitman and myself. We did have a 2+2 meeting, Councilman Reed and myself, with the Desert Recreation District. We gave them a heads up that when we acquire the Lasoy property, we'll probably want to sit down with them and plan out a future park at that location, if that's the will of the council. And we discussed ADA compliance at Fairway Park. A consultant has been hired to design some things that need to be incorporated into the park that will make it ADA compliant. And the Indian Wells Public Safety Committee met yesterday. I don't think there's really much earth-shaking that needs to be reported from that meeting, unless Councilman Penna has a different point of view. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Penna.
Hello to all three residents out here. I do have some things to report. The Coachella Valley Mountains Conservancy did their photo. It's a contest, and I reviewed the photos that were submitted. There were 32 of them, and they were spectacular. I was shocked. Some of them they were all from the valley, but some of them you wouldn't think they were from the valley. So those will be coming out soon. Indian Wells Preservation Foundation, there's a mix and mingle that was announced earlier today for Friday, January 16th, from 5 to 7 at the golf resort. There is an auction there to help the preservation. That's going to be a great event. I believe it's sold out, so if you didn't get in, maybe you won't get in. But anyway, moving on to the community activities. We have some events coming up. Indian Wells Residence Day at the Palm Springs Power Baseball. I believe there's just game 2. I think game 1 was canceled. Yeah, I believe.
I wasn't told. I was told I'm supposed to throw the first pitch at all.
Oh, okay.
Somebody better tell me if it's canceled.
There are 2 games. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not. I received a cancellation on one of them yesterday.
Oh.
We have Palm Springs Air Museum Residence Day on 2/14 from 10 to 5. The beginning email blast on that. We have a movie night on the green. It's a replacement for the Christmas one that rained back in December. It's going to be on February 12th. 2026 at 7 o'clock, and it's going to be the movie 51st Dates, which I love. It's a great movie. I can't wait to go. Weekly yoga and wellness in February. There's not a date set for that. Salton Sea Tour, February 18th, 2026. More details to follow. Salton Sea Tour number 2, same. In regard to the Public Safety Committee, kudos again to Lieutenant Schiavone and all the work they're doing. They're doing a great job with traffic, speeding, and keeping our community safe. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. On my committees, the Homeless Committee and the Executive Committee had a joint session where we discussed improving operational planning moving forward and a more strict review of who owns the houses that the homeless, the CVAG rents. I go to Clean Air Ad Hoc Committee. Been pretty active there. Greg and I went up to the Marine Base in 29 Palms to talk to them about how they address their dust storms, both in the field, but also at this incredible Marine base, and got some education there. We also met with Eisenhower Hospital to meet with their experts in this area, and they're going to be providing more data with regard to the increase in lung and esophageal issues over the past few years. I think we've been enjoying some wonderful air quality over the past month or so, but the wind season is coming. Just as we talked earlier about the FAA, we have been highly, highly recommended by 3 board members at the AQMD to register complaints, because complaints actually drive action. And so I will be sending out a mayor's note with a link to a complaint form for the AQMD to please address the quality of the air in Coachella Valley, just as I will be sending out a separate note regarding the airport and the flight pattern adjustment. The Governance Ad Hoc Committee met and are making some recommendations that will be coming, I think, next month, And with that, the governance ad hoc committee will probably cease to exist because it will have completed its review. I would like to create 2 more ad hoc committees, one for municipal code updates, which I would like to sit on, and I would like to suggest that Greg also sit on that with me. And then I'd like to create an ad hoc committee for the BNP Paribas tournament to engage in a conversation about extension of our agreement, and I would like Mayor Pro Tem Penna and I to sit on that together. The Indian Wells Golf Resort Advisory Committee is looking forward to announcing a city championship golf tournament, which anyone holding a golf cart can participate in. A 2-day tournament over both golf courses, gross and net, men and women. Should be a blast. We asked the local HOAs to support us, and they're all very excited about doing so. The Riverside County Transportation Commission postponed their meeting. And let's see what else, went up to Sacramento with the contract cities. And I found that trip quite fascinating. I think we're going to get some movement on RENA credits, which are those obligations cities have to fill low-income housing. And Greg Wallace and Senator Ochoa Bo are really supportive of us creating a trial in the Coachella Valley for the distribution of RENA credits among neighboring cities. I think Greg particularly had a great line that said, you know, the size of this area is about the size of Fresno. It would be like Sacramento saying one district in Fresno couldn't get RENA credits from another district in Fresno. I thought that was particularly adept and is getting a lot of kind of positive momentum built up around it. I also thought that, I'm glad that Chris Freeland brought to the attention of the state controller that we are looking forward to get paid our unfunded mandates and bringing that to the front of her agenda so that she can understand what those are and how to reimburse them. We also have a new owner of the IW Resort Hotel, and I went to visit him in person and welcome him to our city and suggest that we are all here for him as a city council and city management team to ensure that he has access to all the marketing and all of our residents and ingratiate him to our good service. That's it for me, and thank you for hanging around here today. I want to adjourn this meeting in loving memory of Terry Sanders and to keep her in our hearts.
Thank you.
The meeting is adjourned.